Podcast means at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen close or just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast airways, feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, it's Friday, so you know what that means. This is a guest episode. Now, joining me in this episode was a guy who goes by Professor Tom on social media and on Substack. He's on X, he's on Substack, like I said. Bright guy, knows a lot of shit, talks almost as much as I do. So you take two very chatty guys and you wind up getting what basically turned out to be a 4-hour episode. Now, as per usual, you guys aren't getting the full thing if you're out here on the free feeds. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works. But what you can do is you can go over to Patreon / I Had to Say It podcast or buymeacoffee.com / I Had to Say It podcast. And you can sign up to support the show. And then you get full access to the uncut versions of the guest episodes. Which I usually don't push the whole, support my show, keep shit free, dirk. But, if you're into these longer format guest episodes, it might be worth the $5 a month to run over there and get all the uncut episodes because, like I said, this is a 4 episode. I cut it down to a little under 2, I think, or right around 2. I didn't even look at the numbers, but yeah, so it's a long one. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
So do you edit the audio?
Yeah, I mean, if something comes out that we don't want the general public to hear, I'll clip it. It's I mean, hell, John said his real name.
I know he's told me before, and I've heard it before. It's like or something like that.
Something like that. Honestly, I've already kind of like it's already been replaced in my memory by Jamingo again, just because.
Oh yeah.
If he would have said it, if he were to say it again in conversation, it wouldn't click with me for a couple seconds. Where I'd be like,
yeah.
What was it?
Who?
Oh wait, that's you. That's right. Okay.
Well, that's kind of like who is oh great, now I can't do it off the top of my head. Well, like I mean, several people have stage names. Like Martin Sheen isn't Martin Sheen. He's Emilio.
Yeah,
is he Emilio Estevez?
No, Emilio's his brother. He's
brother or son?
No. Well, are we talking Martin Sheen? Martin Sheen is now I'm forgetting, because then Charlie Sheen is actually Carlos Estevez.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And then Emilio Estevez is the younger brother of the two.
Right, because Amelia was in the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
which I haven't seen in 20 years.
Yeah, me neither, actually. No, actually, that's about right. Yeah, I was gonna say, because the last time I watched it was with my son, but that was at least 15 years ago.
Out in the 90s, didn't they?
Oh yeah, those were. I was like, I grew up with and those were when I was a young man. So.
Speaking of 90s, I actually just watched something from, I can't remember. It's either 93 or 94. Actually, I think it's 93. Cool Runnings.
That's another classic. I have a fun little story about Cool Runnings. Anybody that hasn't seen Cool Runnings, you got to go check it out. Great movie. Based on a true story.
Very loosely based, I should say.
Very loosely based. But it's got John Candy in it. How can you go wrong with it? But when in the late 90s, I used to work at a little mom and pop video rental place, and there were very strict rules about what we could play on the TV in the store during operating hours.
Which is funny because, like most typical '90s mom and pop video stores, we had a massive selection of adult films, but
Were they in a
we,
separate room?
actually no, we ours were set up
Wow.
even weirder. They were behind the counter
Oh.
because we did have a separate room, but there was a problem with the way the building was laid out, where to get into the separate area, like we'd have kids sneaking in there and they wouldn't always get caught, and then they'd steal a
Hmm.
tape and run off with it.
Ah.
So what the owner did was take all of the covers and
Uh-huh.
put them in a big D-ring binder, like in the individual
Uh-huh.
page
Uh-huh.
sleeves, and each one was numbered. So you would flip through it until you found the number of whatever tickled your fancy, and then you'd have to come up to the counter and like, I would like A0023, please.
Well,
And
I mean, at least
it
you didn't
was,
have to say, I want big jugs
yeah, it's
and
like
then, get the wrong film back.
I want Dirty Sluts and Crazy Butts, Volume 7. And it's just, or my personal favorite that always got real popular around the holidays, It's Christmas and Santa's Coming All Over Town.
Uh, so
That's a
the,
real movie. I wish I was making it up.
the Cool Running story. What was the
But yeah, no, Cool Runnings was one of those ones where I watched the living hell out of that movie in the store
mm,
because it was it was a kid friendly movie, so I could
it
pop
was
that one in.
PG.
It was PG. That was a
Hmm.
rule. There were very few things that were PG-13 that were exceptions to the rule, but the rule was PG and or
Hmm.
G. So although after 7 o'clock I
Do
couldn't
you know
take
where
it.
do you know where PG-13 came from?
I believe it was because it was one specific movie, and I trying to think of no. Okay, enlighten me. I
It may have been one of the Indiana Jones films, but Steven Spielberg was the one that was pitching for it because he said we really need something between
this
PG
is
and
yeah.
R.
This isn't hard enough for an hour, but it's a little more
Hmm.
mature. I want to say it was Temple of Doom. Now that you said Spielberg,
That
I think
I
that's
was
what it
almost going to say
was
that. Yeah.
for the Kalimal.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
that. For everybody
if
that's this is an audio medium, I just did the like sticking a hand in and holding up a heart gesture.
I believe Spielberg was going through a divorce on that film, I'm pretty sure Lucas was. And so that was like a dark
Yeah.
period for at least one, if not both of them.
Yeah, and they it definitely translated into the film, but
Hmm.
it's the heart being ripped out was very symbolic.
Hmm.
Hmm, deep analyst.
Did you know
But
that to go back to our earlier topic, I had a couple other celebrities with stage names. John Wayne, of course, was a stage name. It was
yep,
Marion something
Marion.
something. It's three
Um,
M's.
yeah, not. I never forget Marion, but it's
Hmm.
like the Duke. His name was Marion. It's gonna drive me nuts now. I
Well, we
used
can
to actually be
consult the
really
Book of
good at this
Knowledge.
stuff. Well, it was yeah. I mean, we have the world at our fingertips, but
Sure, why not?
I used to
What
be, that's
is
the other
John?
side effect of running the video store was I used to be really good at that kind of stuff, like worthless movie trivia. And I was also
Oh
really
no,
good at hey, I'm looking for this movie. It's got that guy with the face, and be like,
Jason.
Jimmy Durante,
Marion Robert Morrison. I thought it
Marion
was
Robert
three M's.
Morrison, MRM. Okay.
And then
Oh, I know what I was thinking. MMM is another podcast. That's why it was popping out in my head.
oh, I thought all three of his names started with an M.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and then Michael Caine. That's not his real name. I believe his
That
real
one I don't
name
know.
is Maurice Micklewhite. I can't remember where he said the
Think
Michael
Michael
came
Caine was a
from.
good move.
I think Michael was, I think, the name of his agent, and then Caine, his claim that he was standing outside and across the street was a theater, and on the marquee they were playing the Caine Mutiny, which they did a remake of with Kiefer Sutherland, and
Yeah.
he could only see the Caine part, which is why he spells it Caine. Um, he said, but if the tree had been in a different position, he might have been Michael Mutiny.
That sounds more like a punk rock band or
Yeah,
front
yeah.
band. That's somebody from the Sex Pistols. Sid Vicious, Michael Mutiny on bass. That works.
I was actually thinking about something that I haven't thought about in a long time, and that is video rewinders. Since you talk about movie stores,
Yep. I actually, now that you bring that up, the whole Be Kind Rewind movement and everything else, and they actually there was a very broad spectrum of video rewinders. Did you know that? They actually,
Probably.
yeah, because we had multiple at the video store because it was VHS when I started working there.
Hmm. Hmm.
We were also the first place in town that carried DVDs for rental because the owner was actually on the stick about being like cutting edge technology.
My grandmother, the first time we watched a DVD, she told us to rewind it at the end. And I was kind of hoping she would say that because I was always the computer guy at home, but I was hoping that maybe she kind of knew. And, I don't know if she said it because she really didn't know, but it was one of those I
It's
took
just kind of cute,
plain
like,
and
ah,
it was pain and pleasure at once. Like, I really wanted her to get that one right, but like, I enjoyed the moral superiority.
like no, Granny, we just eject the disc.
And
But
and
yeah,
then, what, 10, 15 years later, you don't even really have physical
yeah,
media anymore.
yeah. Unless you're like me, where you're a kook that thinks someday that all the streaming stuff's going to go away. So
I
I
tell you what has went away with streaming, and that's featurettes.
featurettes are definitely not a thing anymore. Which
I mean, you can still get
for the
them.
younger people that might be out there, a featurette is a shorter film.
They were usually like behind the scenes films. So how did this get made?
Yeah,
Probably for those in the audience that are younger, you might have seen like the Lord of the Rings, particularly the extended cuts. They'll have other DVDs and it'll show
yeah,
you how they filmed it, how they wrote it, where they did the
yeah.
location scouting.
The behind the scenes stuff that was on DVDs.
Or commentaries. Although you still sometimes get commentaries, but they're
Yeah,
going away too.
yeah. And that sucks. 'Cause I always actually like the commentaries on DVDs. I would always watch every movie I bought at least twice. I'd watch it
Hmm.
straight through, and then I'd watch it with the director's commentary track,
And who's the
or
father of the
or who,
director's cut?
father of the director's cut. Is it Kubrick? No,
No, this should
Lucas.
be. No, sir.
No. Okay, now I feel like a jackass. I feel like I should know this.
Oh, you're going to feel bad when I tell you the name.
Probably.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right. I'm a jackass. Never mind. And that's ironic because I just made a Ridley Scott reference earlier today. I was just talking about chest bursters. Um,
I guess Predator or Alien.
Alien. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
I was
I
literally
don't.
I was at work doing that with my hand behind my shirt, like, and somebody was just like, "What?" And I'm like, "You fucking kids."
I'm not a sci-fi guy, and I haven't seen any of sci-fi movies, so I didn't see the
Okay.
what was the one with Michael Fassbender? It wasn't Predator. It was
Um,
per
no, that was one of the Prometheus.
Prometheus. I haven't seen that. I
Yeah.
haven't seen Blade Runner. I haven't seen Alien, but I
Oh,
did
you
see
got to watch Blade Runner. It's
which one?
it just the first one, the
No,
original, the
well,
director's
no,
cut.
which cut? Yeah, because
No,
there's like at
watch
least three cuts.
there's three. There's the original, the extended cut, and the director's cut. And then I think
Mm.
there's like a 25th anniversary cut. And there's like we found this extra film in the back room behind a can of beer cut. And the like, I was drinking, but this seemed like a good idea at the time cut. And yeah, it's there's a few versions out there, but the original director's cut of Blade Runner is like it's beautiful. I mean, just
Mm.
cinematography, story
Hmm.
wise, it's
Hmm.
overall arching. It's just a beautiful piece of work. But
There was a time in my life. I was late teens, early 20s. Um, and I watched a film that people are going to think I was weird for watching it like daily, and that was Hannibal. And
it's a good flick.
the reason I liked it is it was Ridley Scott, so I liked the direction, I liked the cinematography. He got to shoot in the Capone Library, which nobody had ever done. It had Gina Carla, no, the Italian guy that was in Casino Royale. He was also in Man on Fire.
Yeah,
I was going to say Giancarlo
Giancarlo
Giaccani, but
Espinosa.
that's Gus Fring. But
Yeah,
maybe the guy's first name is Giancarlo. Um,
I know I can see him. I just can't. Like I said, I used to be so good at this, but
yeah, me too.
that was also 25 years and God knows how many bottles of
Well,
bourbon ago.
but you did it in a more impressive era because that was before IMDb or as IMDb was getting going.
Yep. Yeah, actually, IMDb is what ruined me because I used to be able
Mm.
to know all this stuff off the top of my head. Now I'm just look it up.
Well, I look it up, but I commit it to memory. Because I have an obsessive personality. So it's like if I see something in a movie, then also because I like history, kind of for the same reason, I have a place to or a mental framework to plug it into.
That's very, very fair, actually. I'm mildly, mildly obsessive. Now I'm much better than I used to be. um, and I'll attribute part of that to like my wife and having a kid and having to reorient my focus where my obsessions just, it's not that they went away, it just
Hmm.
got reoriented and where I mean,
It's
it's like I said, I still trap and retain certain things in a very, very realistic way. It's like, but on the other side of that coin, it's like we work the prioritization of what gets kept and what gets shuffled off to the side because again, and partly it's technological or technological dependence where it's like I can look that back up. I don't need to remember
hmm
that. That's not mission critical anymore. Now, the ironic thing is I could spit out nutritional data on 19 different kinds of chicken breast right now that
wow.
is useful to absolutely nobody, but it's relative to my job. So
I was going to
all these
ask, yeah.
things are yeah. I'm actually in the real world when I'm not doing this. I actually am a chef.
Oh,
I'm an R&D chef for a company. We do recipe development, product testing, and nutritional support for medical facilities.
um,
So
do you know
yeah,
the name of the book that was popular a couple of years ago? Something like The Secret Life of Grocery Stores.
sounds vaguely familiar. Um,
So in the book, they went through kind of the whole process. So like, how does the product show up in a store? And then, what does supply chain look like? So there was a chapter on truckers, but they also had a chapter on like food in particular. So you come up with a product, but then it's one thing to like make it in a kitchen, but it's quite another to try to mass produce it and put it in a supermarket. So then you
oh yeah,
start swapping ingredients for shelf life or
well,
longevity or
commercial production and processing are leaps. That's one of those things where I tell people like, "Oh, I might want to do this. I like cooking." Well, if you like cooking, you don't want to do this. It's an entirely different monster.
if you
Um,
like cooking, open a restaurant, or
yeah,
if
if
you
you
like cooking, do a cooking show.
yeah, do a cooking show, host parties, entertain for your
Right,
friends,
yeah, yeah.
do private dinners. There's great money in
Ooh,
private dinners.
oh
I've
yeah.
done. Not. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging because it was actually for charity, but a buddy of mine and I that I went to culinary school with, we did a dinner for eight
Hmm.
that sold for $6,700.
Nice.
So just under, it was like 850 bucks a head.
Mm.
And like I said, it was for charity. It was for a good cause, but still,
Hmm.
we did a six course plated meal. Every course was plated with a microbrewed beer to. It was because it was a beer themed dinner. There was
Mm.
beer used in every course in the dishes to complement the beer that was poured with each course. And then all the beers that were incorporated in dinner, my buddy actually brewed all of them. So it
Wow.
was literally everything on it was done from scratch to finish to
Nice.
accommodate this dinner. And like I said, we got like 6,700 bucks for the charitable foundation. I think we took 350 out of it for product and
Hmm.
because we did like these jumbo prawns that were like 2 ounces a piece and
Prawns.
and like
Are you British?
well, no, I mean there's a difference between a shrimp and a prawn. It's just the scale.
Oh, oh, okay. I didn't. Because I know that
Yeah,
like the Australians call shrimps prawns.
yeah, but
At
no,
least
it's
I
got
think they do.
more to do with the size and whether or not the head's still on.
Ah,
But yeah,
well, today I learned.
prawns are like after they get to a certain size, and it's a different subspecies, but that's a whole nother because there's like multiple different kinds of shrimp. Just shrimp is
Hmm.
not just a single genus. There's a whole bunch
Oh,
of them.
really?
So there's black shrimp, white shrimp, tiger shrimp. There's different varieties, and like I said, prawns are just a flavor of the species, but they can get to be this friggin' big.
Mm.
So
And for those
so
of you that are listening, you will
oh
have to
yeah,
imagine
again,
how big they are.
audio medium. Guess what? Guess how far apart my fingers were. Um,
They're
Now
freaking
add
huge.
now add 2 inches. That's what we all say, right? But yeah, so we did this whole meal and we did, like Kobe beef fillets and I mean
Oh
just
wow.
real, all the sauces were made from scratch. My buddy used to say I'm a badass saucier, and I was like that was kind of his thing. I'm a badass saucier, and he really was. Like I mean, he was one of those guys where he could have gone to any Michelin star restaurant in the country and gotten a job making their sauces. So,
There's a gentleman in town, his wife, I know she trained at the American Culinary Institute. I don't think she finished the program, but she knew what
oh,
she
so
was doing.
she's still kind of sane then. I would say that's part of once you get your culinary degree, you automatically get 3 weeks in the Grippy Sock Institute. Um,
Oh,
there's
really?
something. Oh, there's something wrong with all of us. I actually I worked with the local culinary school for a couple of years. Uh, Actually, when I was still a student, I was basically like a TA, but at the time the
Hmm.
program didn't have TAs,
Right.
so I was just listed as like general service worker. But
Hmm.
I was literally like teaching students, 5 days a week. Plus, I work at the banquet because the school had a banquet facility on the weekends. So I would
Oh,
work
wow.
the banquet. I would work banquets on the weekends, and Monday through Friday, I'd work during the day with the students. And at one point, I was actually part of the rotation of the training schedule. What it was
Mm,
like because they would break up the class into groups, like 2 to 3 students, depending on the class size, and you would
hmm.
rotate through stations in the kitchen. And
Hmm.
at one point, the syllabus literally said Aaron as one of the stations because and like, this is partly just due to my, like I said, my own obsessive behaviors and
Hmm.
the way my brain fires. I'm really good at like the paperwork side of things
Hmm.
when it comes to food service, like inventory control, product rotation, receiving, all that, you know, doing inventory, all the really boring, tedious part of being a chef that nobody ever thinks about when they go, I want to be a chef when I grow up.
Hmm.
So I'm really good at that stuff. Not a fan of it, but I'm really good at it.
What?
So that would be the part of the rotation is you're going to go work with Aaron for, a week or 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and you're going to learn how to take physical inventory. You're going to learn how to rotate product. You're going to learn how to receive orders. You're going to learn how to
Hmm.
assemble orders. You're going to
Hmm.
learn how to read a menu and determine what you need based on your stock on hand and what you need to bring in for the following week's menus. And
Well,
yeah,
to tie that back to film, something that I learned from Masterclass, the thing that advertises all the time on YouTube.
yeah.
So Ron Howard had a class on directing, and while he didn't really get into it, it uh, there was intimation that being a director is more than just having an idea or how to execute a scene in front of a camera or how to assemble a final product. That it's really almost more of a managerial thing. Now, it probably varies from production to production because of, how they get put together and,
Oh
producer
yeah.
roles can overlap. But like you could wind up and potentially having to do budget things.
Oh yeah. I can totally see that, especially on smaller productions.
Hmm.
Produced and directed by. I mean, you see that in the credits all the time.
Well, and then,
But but it's just saying as a managerial position. I mean,
to take you back to your childhood, a book that I read this year, like I don't know, a month ago, 3 weeks ago, um, was Robert Rodriguez's book, Rebel Without a Crew.
that actually I can. I have I have it on my Audible uh
Really?
playlist actually
Okay.
because I haven't listened to it yet, ironically, but because a couple of years ago when I started my current position,
Hmm.
um, I have most of the time, actually at the moment that I don't get to have the same luxury, but most of the time when I'm doing testing type stuff,
Hmm.
I'm by myself. It's my test kitchen. I don't have a staff to speak of. I mean, in my role, it's a lot of me doing all the hands-on work, and then I have like a team of dietitians that look at the nutritional stuff, and
Hmm.
and then like everybody that works for the company comes in and taste tests everything, and we do product evaluations and recipe
Hmm.
evaluations. But when it comes to the actual preparation side of things, it's just me doing my thing. And when it's like, okay, it's actually really kind of weird for me. And one of the facets of my job is I have to find creative different ways to destroy product too, like ways to deliver. I deliberately go through after we approve a recipe and say this is how it should taste.
Hmm.
I'll make it again 3 or 4 more times and just fuck it up as hard as I possibly can because I need to know. That's the other part of my job is I also provide support to our clients. So when
Mm.
they have a problem, they call us and they say, "Oh, here, we'll have you talk to Aaron." And then I have to be able to walk them through fixing whatever their problem is. So if they're, this product is too tough or this product came out, it's too much this, it's too that, we don't like
Hmm.
this. So, and every once in a while I'll get a phone call where it's like, I've never ever had that happen with this product. I
Huh.
have to go figure out what you did wrong before I can tell you how to fix it. I'll get back to you.
What would really be interesting is if you had a problem where it came down to like your cookware. So maybe it's something
Oh,
about
it
like,
does.
oh, really?
That happens. I've had that problem where there um, cookware a little bit. It was more like, are you
Or
using
maybe
actual like,
seasoning the pan or something,
yeah,
which,
like what
yeah.
are you doing with these pans? Oh well, I got some. We just went and picked up some new pans. Well, that's why everything's getting wrecked because they're brand new pans. Throw some oil on them, throw them in the oven at 400 degrees for a couple, like an hour, hour and a half, and they'll be fine.
Hmm.
Get that polymerization going on where the oil bonds to the metal, and you'll be good. And make sure your dish guys don't scrape it off. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah. But we'll have issues where it's an equipment issue, like their ovens are improperly calibrated because that can happen. You can
Hmm.
set the oven for 350, but if everything's coming out charred, there's a really good chance your oven's not at 350. They're
Or,
they're mechanical devices. The thermostats go out. The fans don't work right.
or elevation, right? Because if somebody's cooking in Denver, and I don't know where
Oh
you're
yeah.
at, but if you,
Well, I'm in the flatlands of Illinois, so I'm at
oh yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm at like 300 feet.
I was going to
So
suggest Florida. If you were doing product development in Florida, it could actually, be a
a lot of
problem in
a
places
lot
like
of our
Denver.
clients are in Florida, actually. But
Interesting.
that doesn't have too many impacts on us. I mean, we're a national company, so
Sure, sure.
that's also the other fun thing about my job is sometimes I have to take time zones into account, and I have to work around
Really?
the yeah. Well, I have to when I'm doing support calls and things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I have to go, well, this account in frickin' Texas on the far west end of Texas
Mm-hmm.
is in mountain time. So that
Mm-hmm.
means I don't want to call them during their lunch service, which means I have to wait till like 1 o'clock here to call for it to be noon there. So I gotta,
Right.
okay. And, carry the one and here we go. But, like I said, the biggest issue is primarily equipment failures because a lot of the more like the altitude things, like we have, Colorado people that are in the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
but they're used to that. They're used to adapting recipes to their altitude as opposed to just
Mm.
going, oh, well, this says cook for 23 minutes. I'm going to cook it for 23 minutes. Oh, it's still not done. But
I mean, it sounds like there's a process that's already worked out, or maybe they just know. But like when you introduce a new product, do you have to test it in different markets for things like technical reasons versus like product reasons?
not so
That makes
much
sense.
technical reasons.
Hmm. And by
I've
technical reasons, like elevation
Yeah,
would be,
elevation and things like
yeah.
that. No, there's actually like formulas that we've got
Hmm.
in place to figure out most of those things because like water takes longer to boil at a higher altitude and things like
Mm.
that. So it kind of translates into all you can use that same formula to figure out most cooking times because most of that relative thing is how the heat's impacting the moisture in the product to get it to cook.
Mm.
So
What do
which
you think about was it King? What was the interviewer's name? Larry King. Didn't he open some kind of shop in California, but he was trucking in, or well, I say trucking, he was bringing in water from New York because there was something about
um
the New York
yeah,
water
no, it
that,
was for it was to make bagels.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you will not the water content of New York is why their bagels taste the way they do. That's why anywhere else in the country you get a bagel, it's not going to taste like a New York bagel. And I'm
Hmm.
saying that as somebody who has nothing nice to say about New York as a general rule. I don't like their pizza. I don't like their
Really?
people. No, I'm
Well, I
a
guess you have
Midwesterner.
Chicago
I don't.
pizza, so
Uh, yes and no. Here's the thing about that. The Chicago pizza, everybody that's not from the Midwest thinks of when they think of Chicago pizza is
Mm-hmm.
not what people from here eat.
Mm,
We eat pub style pizza. That's an authentic
mm,
Chicago pizza is pub style. That 3 inch thick, slab of cheese. That's for
mm-hmm.
tourists. Now, don't get me wrong. I like a stuffed crust every once in a while, but I really
Sure.
got to be in the mood for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 6 foot, 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I can't eat more than like two slices of it. So
Wow.
that stuff sticks to your ribs. It will fill you up. My wife and I, if we go to get a stuffed crust pizza, we'll get a small one. It'll last 2 days at least,
Wow.
unless I'm drinking, in which case I'll get up at like 2 o'clock in
Mm-hmm.
the morning and have some cold, thick slices of pizza, which I might add reheats wonderfully in an air fryer. But yeah, no, if we're going out with like friends and going out and have beer and pizza or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's cracker crust, thin
Mm-hmm.
cracker crust, which is actually crispier than the thin crust on the East Coast. Because we don't do that big cut a big slice and fold it bullshit. It comes cut in little squares. They're 1 to 2 bites. You pop them in your mouth. They're beautiful, a nice crispy crust. And I actually, again, then and there's other differences in how the dough is made. I mean, pan
Mm-hmm.
style dough versus a cracker crust dough, and one you work it significantly more to overdevelop the gluten, so you get that nice crispy crust. And
Did you
I
did you ever see the movie Green Book?
Green Book,
Uh
hmm.
the guy that was in Hidalgo who was also Vito Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen
Yeah,
as
Vigo.
that's the one where he's
Uh
a chef, and
no, Green
no,
Book is where
that's
he's the
Green Card. I'm
chauffeur
thinking. Okay. Oh
for
yeah.
the black
Measure
musician, the Don
Ali is the
Shirley
yeah.
trio. So there was a scene in there, and I didn't. I mean, I guess I saw it and forgot about it because the rest of the movie. But
Yeah.
the real life Tony Lip would take a whole pizza and fold it in half and eat it like that. And when Vigo found out about it, he told the director, he said, "We got to put this in the movie."
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I've never done that myself, but only with like a 12 inch, out of the like a frozen pizza
Mm.
style pizza. I've never done
Mhm.
that at a restaurant, but
This the scene anyway in the movie was in a hotel, so I have no clue.
yeah,
It might have been a 14-inch.
yeah, but like I said, I've done that. I've done that in my younger days when I was a little more of a unruly savage. You know, late teens, early 20s. I was pretty
We were
yeah.
talking about, water in New York and whatever's in it is what makes their bagels taste the way their bagels taste. I was never good at chemistry. And, so when I think about boiling a pot of water, initially I just think, oh, it's water that's boiling, but it's not really because like, if I get something out of the tap, we've got some pretty hard water here. I don't know
Oh
what's in
yeah,
it.
you'll get that mineral scale built up on the
Hmm.
bottom of the pot because the
I've never had that happen. And I
well, you
can
just
let
haven't
water sit
boiled
and
it hard
puddle.
enough.
Oh, but I can tell like in the tub or the toilet, like you just it builds
Yeah,
up
you
and you
get
got to
like
clean it.
the iron scale and all that stuff. We have extremely hard water here too, so I can sympathize with that. Um,
So, when you
but
think of boiling water, you're not just boiling the water. And then when you start thinking about, say, distilling, like if you're going to make moonshine, well, you have to distill the water because what you're really doing is you're trying to get rid of everything else that's in the water so that you get pure water so that you can make a
yep,
product.
yep. And I haven't bought it yet. It's in my cart on Amazon.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll get a Prime deal. I was actually looking at picking up a small like 3 gallon distiller,
Mm.
and it's kind of funny because it's a dual purpose thing. Like in the back of my brain, I'm like I can make me some shine,
Hmm.
which is it's just the way my brain works. I mean, I come from a long line of miscreants and hillbillies, so
Well, why
but
not?
why not? Exactly, it's a family business. But on the other side of that is like I'm also a cheap bastard, and
Hmm.
you have to get distilled water to put it in a CPAP machine because otherwise the guts get all screwed up. And I'm like, for as
Well,
much as I'm buying, I mean, it's $1.30 a gallon or whatever, and I'm like,
hmm
you know, after a year, this thing would pay for itself if I distilled water in this. And
that's how you justify the product,
that's
particularly to
exactly
your
that's how I
wife.
justify the purchase. Oh no, honey, I got it so I can make us distilled water. Now she thinks she might need a CPAP too, and I'm like, Well, if we have
So
two of
it'll
them,
be double the
it's
savings.
it's
So in
double
six
the
months,
savings.
yeah.
Exactly. In 6 months, this thing will pay for itself. It's only because it's only like $45. It's a little janky tin
Hmm.
pot.
Speaking of alcohol, did you know that in the United States, in order for it to be legal for you to sell alcohol, it has to be radioactive?
I did not know that. No.
I actually recorded this as a fun fact, and it played on the Boomer Bunker a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
The idea is that the government wanted to, like during Prohibition or around Prohibition, wanted to make it harder to get liquor, and the people that were making liquor wanted to make more money. So it turns out that you could make alcohol from petroleum, like from oil, and it's the
Hmm.
same product that would end up in the end. But the difference is that if you make it from anything that's plant related, it's slightly radioactive because it picked up the activity from the sun, whereas the oil is
Hmm.
under the ground
Yeah.
and
So
the
it's.
radioactivity has dissipated. And I mean, it's like a very trace amount, but it is detectable. And so
I did
because
not
of
know
that,
that. That's
yes,
actually
sir.
really interesting. And that must have been on one of the days where I got to the show late or something. Because that's the thing with they what they kick off. It's 5:30 my time when they start usually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm still at work, and I usually wind up like when I get done with whatever I have to do, I'll get in the car and turn it on once I get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm usually that's why I'm not very active in the chat or anything because I'm usually in
Oh, okay.
traffic giving people the finger. So
Well, I mean, if Bruce can run his show from his car, surely you can chat from. Do you remember? Do you remember Bash.org?
yeah, actually.
There was that. So for those that don't know, Bash.org, there was this old chatting platform called IRC or Internet Relay Chat. It's just a text chat. It's kind of like what Slack is, but Slack has a whole bunch of features, and this was just text.
Yeah, it was very basic. I used it a lot
Um,
back in the day.
and it was, people would record their chats there, and then when instant messengers became popular, those would wind up on Bash.org. But most of the chats were from IRC. So anyway, there's like a top 250 if you go there, and one that's always in the top 250 is this guy is telling the chat room, yeah, I'm typing going down the road one-handed, and everybody tells him like, that's not safe, dude. He goes, oh, it's okay. And the next thing you know, he says, be right back, I just
You're back. I
rear-ended
just
someone.
crashed. Yeah, I remember that. That's a classic. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, I like I said, usually I try not to do that because it's still Chicago traffic. But
Sure.
I don't need my premiums to go up. I have full coverage. I don't want to have to make a claim. So yeah, so that's usually you can usually tell. I mean, I'm usually either at a stoplight when I'm typing something in,
Mm,
or I got home early for whatever reason, and then I can kind of be more verbose during the
sure.
show.
Well, that
So,
brings two things to mind. Do you have Publix in Illinois?
um, down south we do. We don't have any up where I live, but like my wife's family all lives in Southern Illinois,
Mhm.
and it's you go far enough south in Illinois, you're in the South. I mean, it's a very long state, and you get
Well, I
down by the
wouldn't
state line.
consider Kentucky the South, and it
Well,
remained neutral during the War of Northern Aggression.
fair
Missouri,
point.
meh, like, okay, you can order sweet tea in Kentucky. You cannot get sweet tea in Kentucky. You have to go to Tennessee, at least.
I'll concede that one. Yeah.
But the reason I was asking about Publix is that their food, like if you get, their chicken or their even their banana pudding,
Yeah,
it's
and
so bland.
it's yeah.
Which,
All their house label stuff is very house label. I don't know how else to
well,
put it.
what I kind of think that they're catering to their clientele. I imagine that that food is consumed mostly by old people that don't have taste buds or that have dietary restrictions.
You know the ironic thing about old people that don't have taste buds because that's a factual statement. Old people's
Really?
taste buds deteriorate, and it's partly due to they also lose their sense of smell.
Hmm.
Like 80% of your taste is actually from your
Mm-hmm.
smell. That's why when
Mm-hmm.
you get sick, nothing tastes right.
Uh-huh.
And if you have bad allergies, nothing tastes right. And
Mm.
it's like I have a personal issue where it's like sometimes I can't breathe real good, and then going more off of knowledge than I am off of actual taste. So,
Mm.
but That's usually I just take a Zyrtec and it clears up after a little while. But
Yeah, Zyrtec works for me. I know that there are those weird people out there where it doesn't work for them. I guess it's
yeah.
different body chemistry.
hmm No, I've tried pretty much every decongestant on the planet at one point or another because I used to be allergic to friggin' everything. I still kind of am, but I've gotten desensitized over the years.
My mom, we, the people that took me in, so the people I'm going to call mom and dad, he was a physician. She was staying home. She had four, one, two, three, four, five, six kids in total, and we were homeschooled. And we moved onto a farm. It was a chicken house farm. And so there was all that dirt and dust in the air, like the chicken manure,
Yeah.
plus all the plants, because we had bought some trees and we were trying to grow, like apples and what have you. And she went to get a scratch test done, where they put the
Yeah, where
mask
they
on your
put the
back
little
and
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm actually I have to go get one here shortly myself, so
I forget what her number was, but I mean, she was practically
it's
allergic
like
to
she's
everything.
allergic to everything.
Hmm.
I'm allergic to like pollen, which makes, spring and just a friggin' nightmare for me.
Hmm.
And then when I was younger, I was like deadly allergic to cats. Like I'd
Oh,
go
wow.
into like my head would swell up, my eyes would swell shut, I couldn't breathe. And then, ironically enough, I met my wife, and my wife came with a cat.
Mm.
Like she had the cat for 10 years before I met her.
Hmm.
And he lived to be 19 too. So we were, and he was actually a really awesome cat. He thought he was a dog. So I actually kind of liked him.
Were you
'Cause,
allergic to them?
at first, yes.
Uh-huh.
But, I would pop a Benadryl if I knew I was going to be hanging out and I'd be fine. Because as I got older, it became less severe because like when I was little is when we found out it made me swell up really bad where I couldn't breathe when I was like 11-ish.
Hmm.
But as I got to be older and spent more time around people that had cats and things like that, I started getting desensitized to it. It was just an inconvenience. It was annoying. I couldn't breathe, like stuffy, not like anaphylaxis. So,
Well, you talk about being allergic to pollen. Have you ever seen that video? I assume it's somewhere down in the South where it's like a forklift or something, and I think maybe they got a band around a tree, but the tree looks like it's covered in all these buds. And they pull the forklift back and it kind of bends the tree and then they let it go. So it's kind of like a,
yeah,
like
kind of like
slingshot.
snaps it.
Yeah. And like all the stuff that you thought were flowers, it wasn't. It was pollen. I mean, it's like a
Uh,
rainstorm of pollen.
yeah, that has to be in the South somewhere. Yeah,
Hmm.
but no, that's just sounds like a nightmare to me. Yeah, no, that's like I said, that's not fun. No. But the ironic thing is recently I started having some issues with peanuts, which
Hmm.
is a real kick in the nuts for me because I
Hmm.
love peanuts. I love peanut butter. I'm a grown man. I love peanut butter. Um, I used to keep
I
a
love
jar of
peanut butter.
peanuts at my desk as a snack, like, and then after I got the COVID jab, which is,
Oops.
sometimes a little bit of a sensitive subject with people, but I'm just
Hmm.
saying my personal experience. After that happened, all of a sudden I started having a problem with peanuts. Now, it may be a coincidence, it may be not,
It
correlation is not causation, but I did actually read something how peanut oil was used in some as a vector in some of the shots, and it triggered latent allergies in people.
well, I learned this recently that peanuts and cashews, if you eat a whole bunch of them, they can upset your stomach. And the cause of this is the fat in the nuts. So
Yep.
if you get too much fat, your stomach can't handle it, or it's probably more intestines, and then it just runs right through you.
Yeah, and they can actually go rancid too for that same reason.
Oh, nice.
If it like after a certain point, peanuts or cashews will go rancid if you don't like refrigerate them.
And
Which
I learned.
sounds counterintuitive, but I mean it's literally it has to be like 6 months, and
Oh,
then they'll
okay.
go.
But
And I don't know anybody that has them last that long. So
well, but that's probably in an oxygen environment. In other words, like if it's in a
oh yeah,
can
if
and
it's
it's
in a,
vacuum
if it's
sealed.
canned or in an anaerobic environment, it's absolutely fine.
Hmm.
It's the same reason that certain like oils and things like that have a longer shelf life because they're in sealed bottles until you open them, and
Hmm.
then the countdown starts.
I also learned how products like Imodium AD or Pepto-Bismol work.
Which you mean the liquid bismuth that coats the inside of your stomach so the receptors are plugged?
That's well, if that's what happens with Pepto-Bismol, then I've misunderstood. I think they're in the same category of drug. At least what happens with Imodium AD is it uh, s- slows down or paralyzes the colon. So there's a peristaltic movement, which is kind of the way that snakes move. So it's
Yeah.
that, constant movement back and forth. And what happens when something's running through you is that the colon isn't particularly large colon. It's designed to uh, get as much liquid out as possible, which is
Yeah.
why a bowel movement is called solid waste. But if it can't remove the liquid, that's what we then call diarrhea.
Yes.
But if you slow that mechanism down, then it's the what's in your digestive system sits in the colon longer, which means that it can extract more liquid.
Yeah, and that actually may be right in terms of how the Pepto works. I wasn't thinking
Mhm.
about the diarrhea aspect. I was thinking about the upset stomach portion of it
Well, because
because it treats everything.
Most upset stomachs aren't truly upset stomachs. They're really upset colons.
That's fair. No, but I like because when you go down the list, heartburn, upset stomach, indigestion, nausea, diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I'm thinking of the heartburn one because that's what I use Pepto for is when I get my acid reflux flaring up. I'll,
Really?
oh yeah, I'll just take a pull out of the bottle and set it back on the shelf.
Huh.
And
I've used Nexium, which allegedly that's supposed to, or it can take like 2 or 3 days to kick in. It seems to kick in fairly like 30 minutes for me. Either that or I don't really have
because
acid reflux.
either you're very sensitive or you might have a psychosomatic reaction to taking it,
Or both.
or
I mean,
both.
there is option C. Um,
I think
and
both can be true. Yeah.
what's interesting about Nexium, and I asked Grok and it explained it, and I still can't explain it because I'm not a chemist. But Dad, he was a GI or gastroenterologist, so he assigned a lot or prescribed a lot of Prilosec. But it turns out that Nexium is really the same product that's in Prilosec, except for it's like one half of the molecule. And apparently, the way that the chemistry works is there's a proton, an extra proton on one side, and that's what Nexium is. It's the side that has the extra proton.
Huh.
Um,
That's interesting. I
yep.
because I've taken both. Taken Prilosec and Nexium. In my especially in my younger days, not so much these days.
Hmm.
But when I was in my late 20s, I think it was probably a lot of stress too. But I had like a
Mm,
pre-ulcerous lesion in my stomach, and I was having really severe acid reflux, and they were like, "Here, we're gonna pump you full of radiation so we can check out how your insides work."
nice.
Which was a fun test, I might add. The guy came in to give me a shot wearing a lead suit. I'm like,
Mm,
wait a minute, wait. So you don't want to be exposed to the shit that's going into my veins right now? And he's like, pretty
yes.
much, yeah. Enjoy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like if you go to the dentist and they take x-rays, like they're supposed to wear a lead vest
Yep. And
because radiation is um, cumulative and
yeah,
half-lives are constant. So
yeah.
like,
So if you're getting constantly dosed by it, I mean, it makes sense that you need to be protected because it's
mhm,
just going to keep continuously not decaying, unlike the rest of us.
mhm.
Although, speaking of the dentist, have you? I was absolutely fascinated when they switched over to the modern X-ray setup,
Okay.
where they don't put the film in your mouth anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just my dentist. They have like
Um,
it's like an electronic sensor that they put in your mouth,
oh, I think I
and
know
then
what you're talking about.
it
Yeah.
shoots the X-rays into it, and then it just prints the X-rays directly onto a computer screen.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm like, this is so much cooler than when like you used to have to stick the film in there and you bite down on the thingy and then they take the picture and then they move it and I did I could they always told me it doesn't taste like anything. I could taste that shit. I'm sorry. I knew it. I could taste the film. You can tell me I can't taste it till you're blue in the face. I could taste it. It had a taste. I
I,
will
I
never believe it
probably,
didn't.
I probably shouldn't uh, say this because it's probably going to say more about me than anything else. But let's just say that I've actively avoided the dentist, and we'll leave it at that. And it had been, well, like being a lapsed Catholic, it had been a while since my last confession,
Yeah, fair point.
such that when I went to the dentist, I was like, "Where's the spitball?" And they're like, "We haven't used those for years." I didn't
Yeah.
realize that they didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, then now they have the little sucky thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now ironically enough, I've been on the very cusp of dental technology for a long time because when I was in high school, my mom worked at a dentist's office
Mm-hmm.
that was literally across the street from my high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like when I didn't have my own car, I would go over there to steal her car and stuff, and I'd have to run in and get the keys and be like, "Hey, yeah, football practice was canceled. I don't want to hang out till you get off work. Can I take your car?" And
Mm-hmm.
okay, whatever. And like all the gals and Debbie, your kid's here. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hi, Aaron. I'm like, hi. I like girls. Hi. Just dumb. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. So they were always like, hey, yeah, here's the newest thing, and it was kind of cool. Like when I had to get my wisdom teeth extracted because they all
Mm-hmm.
came in impacted.
Yeah, mine too.
Um, my mom was like, "Oh yeah, well I've got your oral surgeon lined up. He's the best guy in the company. He's going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take care of you. It's going to be in and out. He's so fast. He's good. It's going to be quick." And I was like, "Awesome, great. Uh, so let's do this." And then summertime, like we go in there and the guy's, "Oh hey, I'm Doctor So and So, and here we're just going to numb you up real quick." And he gives me 4 shots. He's like, "Hey, did you want nitrous?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, please. I'll take some giggle gas. Why not? And then my mom pops her head around the corner, like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, I'm 18, right? I can make that decision myself. And she's like, you're not getting the gas. I said, why not? She said, I don't want to have to carry you out of here. I said, okay, that's fair. So the guy gave me the shot and like
Mm-hmm.
got got two of my teeth out just lickety split, just quick, just pop, pop.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get the third one to come out.
Oh no.
So he literally climbed up onto my chest with one
Uh,
leg and was just like putting his body weight on it to get it to come out.
oh God.
And it was funny because I was at that point bigger than him. So he
Mm-hmm.
was a nice fella. I like I'm not sure. I'm Middle Eastern somewhere. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't tell you where, but I'm just, I mean, darker complected, like 5'1", you know,
Mm-hmm.
and had the tiniest little hint of an accent. Like he'd lived here his entire life and,
Right.
you know, but you could tell his parents had an accent because he had a little bit of an accent. And, but like I said, just nicest guy, super just business, all about it. And he's like, do you mind if I lean on you a little bit? I don't care, Doc. As a,
Uh-huh.
and so he hops up on my chest and is like, "Ugh," and pops the third one out, and the fourth one they just could not get it to come out, so they actually had to go in and cut it into like 4 pieces, and then pull the pieces out. So I was like, that's not fun. I can smell burning bone. I couldn't feel shit. I was very numb, but after we got done with the whole process, he goes, by the way, you may want to get checked to see if you have like a resistance to painkillers and stuff. I said,
Oh.
I could have told you that. Why do you ask? He's like, I had to give you like 3 times the numbing agent that we normally dose.
Oh
He's
wow.
like, he's like, I know you're a big guy, but you kept saying you could still feel it. I'm like, that's because I could still feel it. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you might be one of those people that like narcotics don't work on.
Oh
I'm not,
no.
I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying if you ever have to go in for surgery or something, it could really
Right.
suck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
good to
So
know.
I've got a couple dental stories for you. One, my best friend growing up, his dad was a dentist, and he became a dentist because he went into the army. Um, and he said that when he was either in training or maybe it was his early practice, I don't know, but he was doing work for one of the services. I want to say it was the Air Force. And he said he would get these guys that would come in and he would have to drill on them, but they would say that they didn't want any narcotics because if they had any pain medication, then it
Ugh.
was like 24 or 48 hours that they couldn't fly. And he, this was a big old dude. This dentist was, and he said he was up in the chair with them drilling just as hard
Yep.
as he could.
I, I mean, it happens, I guess.
I couldn't
Like I said,
imagine.
I was on the other side of it. So, I mean, it's like, I can totally see that. Like,
And then when I got my wisdom teeth, at least on the bottom, I can't remember how they were on the top, but they were literally like at 45-degree angles to the molars.
yep.
And I don't know, maybe he was able to just, make a cut and pull it. I don't know what he did. It seems like I was in and out like in 30, 45 minutes. I was surprised how quick it was. Um,
Yeah, no, like I said, if it wasn't for the one tooth, I would have been in and out in probably a half hour. But that
but
last one just did not want to come out.
I know that I got an anesthetic. Um, and I say it that way. I think I was under. I know that there are gradations or different ways you can do it. So like one is you don't remember it, but like so it wasn't nitrous. I don't think it was something they injected. And I
Yeah, that's
remembered I was talking to a coworker at the time, because I was like, I know that I'm not going to remember any of this, but it would be kind of interesting if I could get them to do something that I know they're going to do to see if I could remember it. And what we had worked out is like, could they hand me a book or a card or something? And I just didn't ask them to do it. I wished I would have. Um,
yeah. That would have been fun just to see if like could I remember this? Hmm.
and then I had to have some crowns put in, and I think I needed a root canal on one because I had already had a root canal on one or two, and then the guy locally had to do another root canal, and then I got three crowns. And I was going to get anesthetic, but then I would have had to have had someone pick me up or take me home, and I didn't have anyone, and it was going to cost a lot more money. But we just did it with local anesthetic and nitrous, and I'm not for sure that I really needed the nitrous. And it was interesting, how quickly the nitrous wore off.
Yeah, it doesn't last real long.
Mm-mm.
It's although I do have a fun nitrous story.
Okay.
Not me, ironically enough, but when I had first moved to Illinois, I started working at this restaurant, wound up taking over as a chef
Hmm.
because the other guy got himself not the chef anymore. And
Mm.
yeah, it was kind of circumstances that I can't say they were beyond his control because it was a series of oh look, it's the consequences of my own actions biting me in the ass. Um,
Hmm.
okay, but so shortly after I wound up taking over, we had to hire a couple new people because
Hmm.
I couldn't be running the line and running the kitchen at the same time. So
Right.
I had to bump a guy up to replace me and then hire somebody to replace him. And the guy I
Mm.
hired to replace him was like the owner's kid's friend. So I was like, okay, yeah, you're getting this job. Don't piss me off.
Hmm.
And we were like a Friday night getting ready to do dinner service. We were still prepping because usually we'd start getting busy around 5:30, and
Hmm.
then we'd be slammed until 11 o'clock when the kitchen closed. I mean, this place was we were doing probably, and this was in 2000,
Hmm.
2001. We were doing probably 3 million a year in food sales.
Oh, wow.
And I only know that because I know what food cost I ran at, which was
Hmm.
like I was running on roughly a 28% food cost most
Hmm.
months.
Hmm.
And I that was partly because I'm good at what I do, and partly because we worked out a deal where my pay was also incentivized to every percentage point I came in under 33, I got a $50 bonus. So
Nice.
at the end of the month, I come in at 28%. I'm like, let's see, that's three, four, five. Let's see, that's $250 you owe me. Fork it.
Hmm.
And it was always cash, so that was even better.
Oh, nice.
So I was very meticulous about those things, but I also knew again, these are the things I would retain the way my brain's wired. I was making about 1.5 million in purchases every year. So you
Mm.
figure if you're running for ballpark for fluctuations and stuff, we'll just call it a 30% food cost. So we're looking at about
Hmm.
four and a half million in sales per year.
Right. Yeah.
So, um, so I was just like, I'm busy. I'm good at what I do. But point being, I had this new guy. He friend of the owner's kid comes in. I got him on like salads and desserts, basically.
Hmm.
That's like this is your entry station. You don't even get to touch the fryer yet. You get to make
Right.
salads and you get to plate the desserts.
Hmm.
And he came in one day and we're getting prepped and getting everything ready to go. And I see him kind of like staggering out of the back. And he's like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
step outside for a minute. I was like, all right. And then he just fucked off and
Right.
never came back, never came back.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was like, okay, I guess he's quitting. Well, whatever. We got to do this. So we
And did
just
you
kind
think
of,
to look outside to see if he was still there, or was it too busy, or?
not, no, I was too busy. I
Oh,
mean, the
okay.
fact that the fact that he didn't come back just made me have to go, all right, I got to step it
Screw
up.
you. Hmm.
Yeah. I was like, I'll deal with being mad when he shows up to get his last check. Cause this was before direct deposit. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so I was like, when he shows up to get his last check, then I'll deal with being angry. And so we're going out, and I get the first dessert order comes in, and I played it up and I'm running back and forth and like, all right, whipped cream's empty because one of the waitresses was doing like an Irish coffee and she's like, okay, the
Ah.
whipped cream's empty. Can you go grab? And I was like, I just got a case in on my truck today. So we got
Mhm.
12 more cans in the walk-in. Let me go grab you one. I go in there and I grab one and just go. This guy went in and huffed the entire case of whipped cream and then staggered out the back door.
The fuck?
Yeah, I was livid. I
Wow.
was like, when he comes back to get his check, I'm beating his ass on general principle. And this
No
is
shit.
at the time I was all of like, 23 and I was
Hmm.
just young, angry, and probably in the best shape of my life. So
And
I was
also
like,
you were responsible,
oh yeah, and that too. But I was
which
like,
is
this
an odd
this dude's
quality for
getting
that
whooped.
age.
Well,
I mean, in this day and age,
well,
anyway.
in a lot of day and ages, it was an odd quality back then too because I was responsible, but I was also a complete degenerate at the same time. So
Well,
I
two
walked
things
that
can be true
line
at
very
once.
carefully.
You know, the
I
cobbler's
was
children have no shoes.
exactly. No, I was a very responsible employee. I was a
Hmm.
and I was also in culinary school full time at the time too. So
Mm,
I was a mediocre student because I spent most of my energy on worrying about running the restaurant.
hmm.
So school was kind of like backseated for the first semester I was there.
Sure.
And I was also a functional alcoholic because I moved down here from Wisconsin, which is an entirely different environment. Drinking has different meanings between Illinois and Wisconsin. That's one thing I can tell you without these tiniest sliver of doubt. Our version of drinking and their version of drinking not on the same playing field even. But I
Quick
did when I moved
anecdote.
down here. Yep.
On Top Gear, Steve Bannon, Eric Bana was the guest, and he's Australian. And they had a news item that said that in Australia at the races, they were limiting the amount of alcohol that you can have. So you can only have 2 liters of wine or 24 bottles of lager. So people were going to the race track and they were burying alcohol like a week or so before the race. So
That's
when Eric Bana
hilarious.
was the star in the reasonably priced car, Jeremy Clarkson asked him about it, and Bana goes, "That's a serious restriction."
That's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, so like I said, I came down here with I was a drunk that had a cooking problem, and also I since I didn't know anybody, like I literally only knew my parents
Right,
in like the whole town. So my social circle consisted of the people I worked with,
right. Or the
and
people that you went to school with.
yeah, well, no, it was mostly the people I worked
Really?
with.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't socialize very much with the school people because I didn't have time for external activities.
Right. I didn't
'Cause
say you hung out
I
with them. I'm just saying
well
it's
no,
social.
well
I'm
yeah,
defining social very broadly. Like you
yeah.
knew their face or
In a
their
broad
name.
sense, yes, it was either
Yes.
it was my classmates or my coworkers.
Professors. Yeah.
And my all my professors hated me. My first semester, I shouldn't say they all hated me, but like my primary instructor,
Hmm.
like I don't know, maybe 3 weeks into because one of my employees also was in class with me. He was also my
Ooh.
classmate, and I took over as his boss right before that semester started.
Ooh.
So he would refer to me as chef because at work he would call me chef
Right.
because I
Right.
was that was my title. And I never insisted on it. I mean, the guy I replaced insisted on it. I never insisted.
Hmm.
I'm just call me Aaron. I don't care. I don't
Right.
stand on titles. We're all here to work. But yes, chef, no chef. Okay, chef. Hey, chef, I got a question. So we're in class, and the instructor is the one everybody's supposed to be calling chef.
Right.
And
It's always a Bob.
fucking Bob used to, hey, chef. And the instructor would turn around and he'd be like, oh, no, I'm
Right.
sorry, Aaron. I'm like, and so the chef was like, why do you keep calling him chef? He's a student. You're a student. He's not special.
Right.
Starts chewing it out Bob. And Bob's like, well, he's my fucking boss. And so he turns to me and he goes, you're just a student. I said, no shit. I didn't tell him to call me that. I don't tell him to call me that at work. He just fucking does it.
Oh man.
So the instructor thought I was a prick. And
Right.
like I said, I was a functioning alcoholic on top of that. So it's like,
So he wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't wrong at all. I am a prick, and but like I would go to the restaurant after class. I would be there till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning some days, like
Hmm.
on weeknights, because I, on top of running the restaurant, or running the kitchen, I was also one of the active managers in the company or in the
Hmm.
restaurant, and we would rotate who was the closer,
Ooh.
and very quickly the other managers realized Aaron's a drunk and he's going to sit here at the bar until the restaurant closes, or until we close the place up anyway. He
So
can
why not let him
close.
manage? Exactly.
Yeah. So I would sit there and I would
Get paid to
nurse.
drink.
I would get paid to drink and I would nurse vodkas on the rocks. And because at 22, 23, that was my poison. And we had pub time trivia at the bar, like where
Mm.
they would put the questions up on the TV
Hmm.
and you could
Hmm.
have the little remote thing. So
I've
I
got a
would sit
story
there and
for that.
I would play trivia, and
Hmm.
I would drink vodka and play trivia, and I was like nationally ranked in the top 100 for the country for a while.
Hmm.
And then funnily enough, because we were one of the first places to get it, again because the owner knew somebody or something.
Yeah.
But that year I went to the National Restaurant Show in Chicago, and Pub Time Trivia had a booth where they were trying to market this new thing for restaurants. Hey, you can put this in your restaurants and people can play games while they're eating, and da da da. And they were, all the salespeople doing their pitches. I walked up, oh, Pub Time Trivia. Love Pub Time Trivia. And the guy was like, here, you want to check it out? And I'm like, here, like, give me one of those consoles. And I sat down with the console and I set down my little swag bag of all the stuff I'd been getting
Hmm.
from the vendors. And he's like, okay, what you got to do? And I was just like, yep, yep, yep. I logged in with my account, and it
Right.
pops up and it's like, bloop, you know, Chef Aaron, number 87. He's like, dude, you're in the top 100 in the country. I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, how much do you play this? I'm like, I play every night.
Right.
And it was just like, and then he's talking to other people like, hey, we got one of the nationally ranked players here. If you want to try and play against him, you imagine the bragging rights. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to beat me, because my brain was just full of useless crap back in the days. So I was really good at that.
Well, let me lay a couple restaurant stories on you. Story number one. This was a pizza place, and the general manager would have a cigarette across the corner of the cut table, and he would have a beer on the shelf underneath. So he would grab a pizza out of the oven, cut it, take a swig of beer, then a puff on his cigarette, turn around, blow the smoke up the vent of the oven, and grab the next pizza.
That
And
tracks. Yeah.
that particular store made money, and it made money, and it made money. Like, it was in a good place. It had a good customer base. Unfortunately, he had some financial problems. And what he would do is he would take cash out of the deposits, or the deposit bags, or the safe, but then he would write a check to cover the difference, so that when it got picked up at the end of the week, all the money was there. Except there was one week when the company decided to pick up the money early and his check wasn't in the safe yet. And
Yeah, I can see how that's a problem.
he wound up getting a permanent vacation.
Yeah. I
There
mean, understandable.
there was a different store. There was an assistant manager who was, and I didn't realize it. I mean, I was there that night. I was working that night. Um, she was so fucked up. She paid somebody $200 out of the till to crush up Xanax in the office, but they didn't have, so she could snort it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that part I get. I'm just the $200 for Xanax too.
No, she didn't pay for the drug. She
Jesus.
paid him to crush it up. So she paid one of the drivers.
Oh, that's even worse.
Oh, it gets even better. The way that store was set up, they didn't have a camera in the office, so they couldn't prove who took the money. And because their stories were aligned enough, or whatever, they couldn't say, well, it was this one or it was that one. And she got away with that stunt.
Yeah, good times. I have so many fun kitchens. Speaking of pizza stories, um, I did work at a pizzeria for a while, and
Okay.
I was living in Madison at the time, in Wisconsin. Big college. Lots of people,
Mhm.
Lots of East Coast transplants. Now there's one building in particular. 90% of the people, it's apartments, but they're like like I said, 90%, it's all students, and 90% of them are from the East Coast.
Mm.
You can always tell. You'd pick up the phone, you'd hear a New York accent. Just, yeah, we're calling from the towers. Yeah, yes, you are. Yes, you're in the towers. What floor? Just tell me the number. I don't care. And it was kind of funny because, like, when I was living there, I had 6 roommates, and all of us worked at the same pizza place.
Mm.
And so it was literally just we all knew each other, I mean, just functioned like a well-lubed machine sometimes. But we were also all just the most like jaded, cynical, like, we can't get fired. so so it was just kind of, what do you want? Yeah, oh
Hmm.
yeah, I know you're calling from the towers. I don't know, let me check. Yeah, sure. Click. And that's one of my buddies, and I'm like, because one of the things is our slogan was on Friday and Saturday, we stop delivering when you stop calling.
Oh.
So we would be working till sunrise,
Uh,
when the last asshole passed out,
mm-hmm.
and we would stop answering the phone at like 3:30,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
at that point we can just assume if somebody calls at like 4:15, they're just going, oh well, I must have missed them and they must have locked up already.
Oh, I see.
Because that was we didn't have a set close time. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like once
Mm-hmm.
the business tapered off to a certain level, we're like, okay, we're
Right.
calling it.
Right.
Some weekends it literally was I would be coming back to the restaurant from the last delivery at like watching the sun come up.
Wow.
So it would be brutal, but we got a call, and this is towards the end of the night. We're trying to get ready to get out of there. Everything's cleaned up. It's like we got a couple slice pies left that we were going to take back to our house, and we get phone call. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. What room? Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
It'll be 20 minutes. Wham! I'm like, towers? Towers. And I was like, okay, what's the let me check? And I said, because you didn't check shit. He goes, kosher means cooked in a bag shoved in between 2 pizza ovens, right? And I was like, no, no, it doesn't. Why do
No.
you ask? And he says, well, because they asked if our sausage was kosher. I'm like, our sausage is
What?
pork, bro.
Yeah, like
and he
that
and he's
that
like,
does not compute.
and he goes, well, I told her it was kosher sausage. I was like, fuck it, let's do this. And because one of the slice pies was a sausage pie. He's like, yeah, I sold the slice pie. I'm like, okay, throw the slice pie into the little delivery bag and go running over to the tower. You go up to like the 14th fucking floor. Here's your pizza. Pay me. Oh, well, do you want to check? No,
No.
that's extra paperwork. I already paid for the pizza. I took it out of my tips. I was going to put your money in my pocket and go home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Fuck. So I took the check and I was like, enjoy your kosher sausage. Got back in the elevator and went back to my truck.
Kosher
I,
sausage.
I was so mad. I was just like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm not. I never cashed her check because it was written out to the pizzeria. I never got my money
Right. Yeah.
back. I was just like, it's not even worth it. It's fucking $15 or whatever. I'm not. I don't care. No, I'm done.
So
And
there was a scam that was going on with the local college here. So if you were a freshman, it seems like no. How did that work? Freshmen and juniors, they had to have a meal plan, I think. But I know I drove back and forth my first year. I was in the dorm the second year. So you had to have like I think it was $800 at the beginning of the semester that was on your meal plan, but then they had flex, which they eventually got rid of. So the way that that worked is that you could move money from the meal plan to the flex, then you could get it out as cash. But with the meal plan, you could use it in other places besides the school cafeteria. So there was a pizza place right next to us that took it, and there was a Subway. It was a Quiznos. So it was Quiznos, Domino's, and then the school. And what would happen is towards the end of the school year, people would still have money on their meal plan, so they would just order pizza like crazy and like tip ridiculously to get rid of it because at the end of the year, uh, while I was there, they stopped being able to do the rollover, so then it wouldn't sit on your flex account, so you couldn't spend it at like the bookstore or what have you.
yeah,
Um, and then they quit doing the. I think you still had to have the meal plan, but like they wouldn't let the other businesses in town take it because they wanted the money, because it was effectively a way to make more money for the school.
Yep.
It was just a scam.
Yeah, actually, when I was I worked in campus services for like 9 years.
Mm.
So I was actually I worked at Marquette University as running one of the dormitories there. So I'm actually very familiar with how that setup works. And like the one of the advantages to being one of the chefs there was I had on my ID I had like a $50 per diem on the flex payments.
Oh,
So
nice.
I would like eat whatever we were, preparing that day, or I would more often than not, I would make myself something that wasn't on
Hmm.
the menu.
Hmm.
But but then I would take the flex pay and I would use it to like buy stuff for my student workers and stuff. I'd be like, all right, guys, we're all gonna go get a Starbucks. Come on,
Oh, okay.
and then we installed like because so many people were going to the Starbucks across the street, they installed a campus run coffee shop on
Oh,
coffee house
nice.
on, which actually the coffee was much better quality than the Starbucks. Like
Huh.
we worked out a good deal with a local roaster, so we were getting all
Hmm.
locally sourced beans. Basically, he just wanted to get his name out there to all these college kids.
Right. Yeah.
So we worked out a great deal. I mean, we paid him fairly, but it wasn't nearly as expensive as buying like from a commercial vendor.
Hmm.
And and we bought all this equipment. You could get anything, any kind of cappuccino or latte or mixed drink or ever, so I'd take my whole staff out after a good shift and be like, all right, everybody get something from the coffee house. And then I just put it on my card,
Hmm.
So, and sometimes I just give my card to students like, hey, here, run down the street and go, go get me a coffee, get yourself whatever, like, you really want to do that? Yes. They know my order. Tell them you need an errand and then get whatever you want too. And be like, and they're like, they actually knew what an errand is. I'm like, I told you, they know my fucking order. They know if
I,
some random ass student comes in and asks for an errand, they want a triple shot of espresso, pour it into a cup of coffee with caramel and non-fat milk.
I had a buddy who he was from Florida, and he said when he was a kid, he spent a lot of time in pool halls, such that when he walked in the door, they would actually pull out a 20-ounce Mountain Dew, unscrew the top, and hand it to him.
Yeah, it pays to be a regular.
Hmm.
Or to have
Which,
something that's just so outlandish that people remember it. Because I had a couple of my students drink an Aaron, and they're
mhm.
like, I can taste colors. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of caffeine if you're not used to it.
Yeah. So, do you think that that being a regular somewhere is kind of a thing of the past, or maybe really is?
I'm gonna say yes and no, to be honest.
Hmm.
Depends on where you are.
Hmm.
Like a few weeks back here, I went on a little mini vacation and went and saw my old man up. He lives way out in the middle of nowhere in northern Wisconsin right now.
Hmm.
Like literally a town with a population of like 600, you know, and like he's a regular at the library of all fucking places.
Mm.
Um, because my dad is a very voracious reader.
Oh, good for him.
I used to be, but not as much as not so much these days, mostly just because of time constraints and things.
Right. Yeah.
But like he reads 5 novels a week,
Oh, wow.
like religiously.
Hmm.
The first week after they moved up there, like right the first week after he got his library card, and he went and he checked out 5 books, and it's like I said, it's a town of 600,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
my dad is fairly memorable, fairly memorable. He
Hmm.
kind of looks like Thor. Um,
Okay.
long blonde hair, long
Hmm.
blonde beard, covered in tattoos,
Hmm.
big biker guy, always
Hmm.
wears overalls. Um, very distinct looking fella.
Right.
And yeah, I hate him. He kept all his hair, son of a bitch. But
And for those of you that are consuming the audio version of this podcast, one
oh
of
yeah,
our
no,
hosts is bald.
I
At
am
least
very
one.
bald. I make no secrets about it. I have a very clean shaven head for multiple reasons, most of which being uh the male pattern baldness in my family is strong
Hmm.
and cruel because it's not like just even a good, nice, even bald. It's like bald here, hair there, bald here, hair there.
Ah.
I got patchy bald, so I'm like, thank God I got a good shaped head. But
Hmm. And well,
but
that probably helps you in your job a little bit because you just, you shave it what
yeah,
once a week, something like that. And
every couple days actually. That's the downside. I hurry up real fast,
mm,
and but yeah, it's every couple 3 days. I have one of those palm shavers,
hmm.
and it's in the center console of my car. I just do it on my way to work,
Oh, okay.
and
So
yeah, because it's
you were
I
talking
got to
about your
afford.
dad being a regular
Uh,
at the library.
yeah, so he goes in there the first week he's there. He's like, I'd like to get a library card. Here's my proof of address, residency, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
And they're like, okay, sure, here you go. And he's like, they're like, yeah, anything in particular I can help you find? He's like, no, I'm just gonna look around.
Mm,
And not only is he a voracious reader, he's a very eclectic reader.
mm,
He will just grab things that grab his eye.
hmm.
Oh, that sounds interesting. And and he will walk and he knows the Dewey Decimal System and everything. He knows what's where and what he's looking
Hmm.
for. He'll pick a couple fiction books, a book on small engine repair, a
Mm,
book on Taoist philosophy, and
hmm.
and like and a cookbook, and
Hmm.
and also my dad's a phenomenal cook too. So
Mm,
that's kind of like the men in my family cook. It's just one of those things. So he goes home and like I said, he's in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. There's not a whole lot of activities to keep him occupied. He rides his motorcycle, he dicks around in his
hmm.
garden, and he reads.
Hmm.
And so he goes back a week later and returns all the books, and she says, "Oh well, did what'd you think? Did you actually get all these read?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're done." And he goes and he picks out five more books, checks them out, and leaves. Comes
Hmm.
back 5 days later, returns all five books, grabs five more books, and she lady goes, Are you actually read this much?" And he goes, "Well, yeah. What else am I going to do?" I'm like,
Hmm.
"All right." So, like when we went up when my son and I went up there, and this is the first time we've been up to his place up there because
Hmm.
up until COVID, he actually had a house in Kenosha and his cabin up north. And then when all the lockdowns and everything started, they happened to be at the cabin when it happened. And it was
Hmm.
also when all the riots were going on in Kenosha. So he was
Right.
like, you know what? We're just staying here. That's fine.
So he didn't stick around to make friends with what's his name?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that was a few blocks from where most of my family lives in Kenosha. So
Mm.
it was actually kind of funny because the first thing I did was call my dad and see how he was. I'm like, "Is everything copacetic?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm up at the cabin. I don't give a shit." I'm like, "It's like my homeowner's insurance is paid up. I don't care." And I'm like, "Do you want me to go to?" I'm like, I'm in my town. Do you want me to go to Kenosha and hang out at the house? I mean, I'm laid off, so I got nothing else to do. So you want me to go hang out at your house and make sure nothing stupid happened? And my dad goes, no, Homer's there. And I'm like, okay, no problems there then, because Homer is one of the guys my dad used to ride motorcycles with. Homer is a thoroughly unhinged human being.
So
He
this would be a
is,
good person to watch her. I mean,
yeah,
if he,
yes,
if,
that
yeah.
he is the guy you want to have watching your property
Hmm.
if there's some really ridiculous violence happening in the neighborhood. So
Does he just see it as an extended party?
more or less, yeah. It was. I mean, I think he would have looked at it. Now, fortunately, all the troubles did stay far enough away where it didn't become an issue. But
Uh,
I'm pretty sure if they would have started torching houses in that neighborhood, there would have been a much higher body count than what happened in the actual festivities.
do
Because
you remember the Beverly Hillbillies when they turned
I,
it into a movie with Jim Varney?
yes, I do. Jim Varney, Erica Laniak. God, what's the
Can't
guy that
remember
played
anybody else
Jethro's
that was
name?
in
I
that
can't think
movie.
of him. Yeah, Dabney Coleman was in it, and
But
Lily
when they're
Tomlin.
oh yeah, when they were riding out to Beverly Hills, some black guy pulls up to him in a car and he pulls a pistol on him, and
And he
the
points the
dad looks
shotgun
over.
at him. Like,
Yeah, he said,
"Hey, you
"That
like
sure
this?
is
Look at
nice, son."
mine."
Here's what I've got, and the dude takes off
Yep.
on the next exit.
Hey,
It
what a
sounds like
they sure are friendly out here.
yeah, it sounds like Homer was one of those kind of guys where show
Yeah,
me yours,
like
I'll show you mine.
pretty much. He was a very unhinged fella. I mean, like I said, good guy to have on your side. but
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying from a purely objective standpoint, there was something wrong with that dude. So, and it was just funny, like, old vet had all kinds of medical shit wrong with him,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, should for the amount of bitching he did, he really wasn't that old where he should have been bitching that much. Where I'm
Right.
like, man, you're just falling apart. What the fuck? And he's like, well, the 70s were hard. I'm like, I guess. I mean, shit. I'm like, are you one of those guys that got blowed up a couple of times? He's like, just once. I'm like, oh, okay. So you only got blowed up once.
You have the character in Torino, the Clint Eastwood "Get Off My Lawn"
Yeah.
old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's, actually, that's a really good movie. I haven't watched it in a while.
It's a great movie. It has a great story to it, but I just the more I watch it, the less I like it.
Huh. Well,
Just because of the beats in it.
okay, I can see that. Like I said, I've watched it twice, I think,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic because I own it, but
Right.
that goes back to my whole physical media thing. Like I said, if the internet goes away tomorrow, I'll still have entertainment. I mean, probably got, I don't know, 2,500 DVDs, give or take,
Mm.
ballparkish. I mean,
I never had a
it,
large DVD collection. I mean, I might have had 150, 200. But I moved them to a storage unit and then times got tough and I couldn't pay it and they got sold. But I wound
yep,
up and bought most of them again on iTunes. So like
yeah,
it wasn't a great loss. And I did go pull a couple of things that I knew weren't available on iTunes. So like somebody here in Alabama made a documentary about this lady named Catherine who she told a lot of ghost stories and she would go like on the trail. And it's like a 90-minute documentary. And like as far as I know, you can't get that on iTunes or A&E. They made a movie first and then they did two television series of Nero Wolfe with Maury Chaykin and Timothy Hutton,
yeah,
which is a phenomenal series, but you can't get that on iTunes. So, I grabbed those things to preserve them.
yeah. No, I mean that makes perfect sense. I no, I say, I'm like I said, I'm not kidding when I say I think there's probably 2,500 DVDs up there, and this is 110% due to my mother-in-law.
Hmm.
I'm not taking any credit for it. Like me, I've got like Case Logic books full of all my DVDs because I was
Hmm.
like, how do I reduce the amount of space this takes up?
Right.
I'll put them in the little CD flip books that I don't need
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
covers, I don't need the jackets, I just need the discs.
Right.
Now, in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have kept the covers and the jackets, but
Yeah.
my mother-in-law, God bless her, and so she has an entire bookcase full of jewel cases of movies.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, she's also one of those people that when she would go to Walmart and see the bin with like the $3 DVDs in there,
Hmm. Hmm.
she would go through and anything she hadn't seen that sounded interesting, might be interesting, might be a good movie, she would buy
Hmm.
it. And there's actually a twofold reason behind this, which is I mean, I get it. They have a floor to ceiling bookshelf in their living room. It's almost entirely DVDs.
Hmm.
Most of them is the one she bought from Walmart in the bins over the course of years.
Hmm.
Because for the longest time, they only had broadcast TV here.
Sure. Yeah, I can
Um,
believe it.
and when, like, even when everybody and their mother had cable,
Hmm.
the town that we live in was small enough at the time where since they didn't get on the front end of the cable install
Hmm.
when it came to the area, when they finally decided they wanted to get cable, which was after my wife and kid and I moved to Wisconsin and then moved back to
Hmm.
here
Hmm.
because we live in a duplex. They live upstairs, we live downstairs.
Hmm.
And it's because I lost my job, which is why we came back. So they were like, here, well,
Hmm.
here until you figure out you can move into the other unit and it'll be fine. And
Hmm.
so they're right there. When we came back from Wisconsin, when we lived in Wisconsin, I had high speed internet at our apartment because I had to be able to work from home sometimes if like there were blizzards and stuff
Hmm.
and also I just wasn't going to not have it. so
Sure. Right.
well, when they would come visit us, my father-in-law would sit on the couch and watch ESPN Classic while we went out and did family shit.
Mhm.
And my mother-in-law would be like, you know, let's go to the museum. Let's go do this. Let's do that. And my father-in-law would be watching the 96 Bulls.
Mm.
So they came back to Illinois. We were still living there. When we moved back to Illinois, my son Alex had gotten very used to like having the cartoon channel and watching his programs, and he's the golden grandson. So as soon as he said, "Grandma, I want cable,"
She got cable.
my mother-in-law was like, "Well, we can't get cable, honey,
Mm.
because there was no the the junction box for our
Mhm.
town didn't have any more openings. Like
Mm.
literally, there was no cable. We were cable service was unavailable to us at the time."
Wow.
And and ironically, this was in like 2008. I mean, it's not like cable was unfound of. It was just we were right on that point where the town was growing, where all the boxes had or all the junction spots had been filled, but there
Mhm.
wasn't enough demand yet to put in another junction spot.
Mm.
So the cable company was like, "Well, when this new subdivision starts construction next year, we'll put you at the top of the list."
Hmm.
And there, my mother-in-law was like, "That's fine. As soon as we can get it, sooner the better."
Mhm. Mhm.
And so and me being a pragmatist, I'm like, well, you know, we're downstairs, you guys are upstairs. We don't need to get two cable subscriptions. Let's just split the bill. I'll pull some coax through the wall. We can,
Mhm.
you know, it's not a problem. And so that's what we did. And my son was tickled when he got his cartoon channel. But like I said, due to the fact that leading up to that point, there was really not, especially once all the airwave signals basically went away. It
Mhm.
was like they only had four channels. So yeah. If you wanted to watch something other than, you know, like TV from the 50s,
Yeah, it
you
had to be
had
on
you had to
yeah.
have a DVD. So
Mhm.
yeah, so like I said, massive physical media selection. It's and I don't have to deal with it. I just know it's there if I need it because it's in my mother-in-law's half of the house. So but yeah, like
What's
I said, it is
interesting
an obscene amount of physical media.
what's interesting to me is what you can and can't get. Like for example, on VHS, you can get John Wayne's The Alamo, the director's cut, but you cannot get the longer cut on DVD or any online service. And the claim is that the print is damaged and that they couldn't use supplementary material or use VHS what have you to
Yeah,
like they just couldn't
the
upscale it.
quality doesn't transfer properly to scale, and
I don't know that I fully believe that. I mean,
I don't
yes,
buy
I
it.
kind of do, but like with at the level they're playing at and the amount of money they have and the amount of technology they have, I'm sure they could do it. They just it I kind of wonder if they're letting a lot of old titles disappear so that way it leaves the culture. Like oddly enough, I was looking up Don Knotts the other day on Wikipedia and think about films like Hot Lead on Cold Feet or the Apple Dumpling Gang or
I actually
like
have both of those films.
but you know what I mean? Like if it's not available to either for purchase or stream, it's going to disappear from the culture.
Yeah, and that's a shame too, because Hot Lead and Cold Feet was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I still know the theme song to it.
I can't remember which film was which, but I part of the reason I was looking it up was I remembered at the very beginning of one of those movies, somebody comes into the saloon and uh they're asking for the sheriff or asking for whomever the sheriff is, and he's like, well, the barber shop's open from on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you're looking for the justice of the peace, it's this hours. If you're looking for the sheriff, I'm playing poker. And I wanted to get that quote exact. So I had to go track it down. And that's kind of how I got on to Don Knotts because I had remembered that Knotts had met um, Andy Griffith. And I think they actually had met prior to this, but where I think they really solidified their relationship was in a little film called No Time for Sergeants, where the roles were reversed. So Andy was the comic and Don Knotts was the straight guy. And they were actually going to film the Andy Griffith show that way, but they realized it would work better the other way around, and that iconic duo.
Yeah, and I mean, man, I'm having a nostalgia moment here. Yeah. I've actually I got an autograph from Otis the Drunk somewhere.
Well, one of my little favorite pieces of trivia: the studio that was behind the Andy Griffith show was also behind Star Trek,
Hmm.
and that the name of the studio was.
I should know this.
It was on the end of every Andy Griffith show.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to I'm trying to remember. I mean, I could see Ron Howard walking down the road with his fishing pole, and
I'll give you a hint. It was a major television couple.
uh, Desi and
Mm-hmm.
Desi and Lucy.
And the name of their company was
It's yeah,
Desilu,
it's yeah, that's what it is, Desilu.
which was where the Mayberry sets were. And it was Lucy Ball in particular that got behind Star Trek. And the first season was shot in black and white, and they were the ones that produced it.
Yeah, yeah, that's I actually I now that you say that I remember that now. I mean, yeah, because I remember I don't remember the exact context of it, but I remember reading something years ago where it was like, Lucille Ball was the reason Star Trek existed because
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of a Trekkie when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I mean more next generation than the original, but
Sure, sure.
that's just the timelines. That's just how it worked out. I mean I even went to a couple conventions. I never dressed up, but I did
Mm,
go. Met some of the cast. It was just little goofy errand. I had a whole bunch of the novels
yeah.
that came out because, like I said, I used to read a whole lot too.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually kind of funny. The vast majority of my books that I had from like because I can honestly say I've literally never thrown out a book like ever.
Mm-hmm.
I still have textbooks from the first time I went to college before I dropped out and decided to become a chef.
Oh, wow.
So they're completely useless at this point, but I still have them. Um, now the backside of that is like everything from before I went to college
Mm-hmm.
is gone. All my childhood books, all my comic books, all my all
Mm-hmm.
my all my young adult books, the first copies I had of like Lord of the Rings and any of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
all got destroyed because when I first moved from Kenosha out of my apartment to subletting some place in Madison for my time there,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anywhere to put all these books and stuff, so I packed them up and I put them in my grandfather's house in the basement.
Oh,
And
did it
and
flood?
a pipe burst and
Ah.
flooded the entire basement and all the books got soaked. And my
Mm.
mom, God bless my mom, bless her little heart, she went through like six gigantic boxes of soaked, destroyed books,
Mm-hmm.
cut the covers off of every single book,
Mm.
so I would know what I had to replace.
Oh,
She
wow.
she brought me a paper grocery bag that was literally full to the top of covers of books, just the
Wow.
covers stacked up in there after she dried them out so they wouldn't stick together when she compiled
Mm-hmm. I was
everything.
gonna I was gonna ask if she did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I thank you so much, Mom. I love you. You're fantastic. What am I gonna do with all this shit? And
Well,
well, that's the thing. I've over the years, I have gradually rebuilt the collection. I've gotten some much cooler books to replace some of the ones I lost.
oh, sure.
There we go.
Apartment, and it's a one bedroom, and that's just the physical books. And I've got probably that same number or more electronic books.
Yeah.
Here's some book trivia for you. Maybe even some nostalgia. Did you ever read the Hardy Boys?
Yes, I did.
Do you
Actually,
remember the author's name?
no, I do not.
Fred W. Dixon.
Okay, yeah, that feels right. I
Now,
mean,
here's
I'm sure you're right. I'm not questioning it. I'm just like, okay, yeah,
well, I might be slightly wrong, but I know the first name's Fred, and I'm pretty sure it's W. Dixon. But the really interesting thing though is that it turns out that that's not one person.
hmm. So it's
Like,
Fred and W and Dixon, or
no, they it was never like a real person, if that makes any sense. So in other words,
oh,
I
so
wouldn't say it was a
it's kind of like
staff
a
writer,
ghost author.
multiple authors,
Yeah.
so that and I don't know how forward thinking they were, but it was a pseudonym, and then whoever was publishing those books, they would hire authors to write them, and it was always put out under that name.
Actually, I can kind of see that because thinking back, I mean, it's been a long time since I read a Hardy Boys book, but
Mm-hmm.
I do remember as a younger kid feeling like they didn't always necessarily read the same.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or
mean,
I remember there was one, it was about, well, there was two different ones. One was there was a video game and it had a blue dot on the cartridge. And there was a sequence you could put in with the controller, and it turned out that like there was a competition, but this cartridge was programmed to play the game itself to win the competition. And so they figured it out. And then there was another one, it was like comic book characters had come to life, and one was like some flash thing, and he had mirrors in his hands, and he could, in the comic, he could make fire. And I can't remember some of the other characters. But yeah, like I had kind of wondered, like, how did it, like, because they started, I think, like in the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah, like
And it's like, how is
solving
this guy
mysteries
writing?
and stuff. And
How is this
now
guy
he's
writing
writing,
about
yeah.
video games? Like, this has got to be an old geezer.
He's 100. What the hell?
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense, though.
And I also learned that it was very common for libraries to get like paperbacks, and then what they would do is they would have generic hardbacks, so they would just be colored, and they would take the cover of the paperback and put it on the top and the bottom of the book, so that they would be more
I,
durable, and they would like
I
glue.
remember that they put like laminate, like the plastic, like
Mhm,
contact paper
mhm.
over the tops to seal it.
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh, that's fun.
What okay, how about if we want to go down the technology rabbit hole? Do you remember Fisher Price made a thing? I know I had to look it up. I asked Bob about it. He didn't remember him. It kind of looked like a camera. It had a crank on it. You would hold it up to your eye, and you could run little films. And the cartridges, they had a little hole in it, so it would like line up, and that's how it turned whatever was
Yeah,
inside
and
it.
then yeah, actually, I remember
I
exactly.
think it
I
was
know what
called a Viewmaster. No, well,
Viewmaster.
no, no,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
no, that was
The
the one where
Viewmaster,
it would turn it sideways. It was a disc you put in.
yeah, yeah.
It
So it
had the
wasn't
thing on the
that.
side. That was the Viewmaster.
Yeah, I'll
But
have to look up the Fisher Price thing again. But yeah,
I remember exactly my cousin had one, and I remember being jealous because I didn't.
mhm.
And I'm like, this is cool. I want like this is
you
awesome.
you probably grew up on 8 tracks.
Actually, no, not
Really?
my grandfather had an 8 track. I'm not
Mhm.
that old. I'm only 46, damn it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
But
almost 40, but I grew up with the, you know, my mom died when I was 7. She was 49. So I guess that means she had me when she was 42, 41.
yeah,
So
somewhere in there, yeah.
I was born in
I mean,
85.
depending
So,
on how the months line up. So
right.
yeah, I was born in 78. Damn it, I'm not John. But yeah, no, my grandfather had an 8 track, but so the only time I ever got to play with it was when I went to his house. I did
Mhm.
think it was cool though. I was like, clunk, you put this big tape in there, and the only thing that it kind of sucked because you couldn't rewind it. You had to play it all the way through before it would
It's
like
been so
cycle
long. I
over
can't,
again.
but the thing I remember is like it had only 4 buttons. And I remembered as a kid being confused because I was like, it's called an 8 track. Why are there only 4 buttons? Because it was
Yep.
like it had 4 tracks, or like, I guess it was 4 data streams lined up on the
Yeah,
tape.
yeah. Basically, there was a right channel and a left channel for
Yeah, so
each
that it could do
audio line.
stereo.
So it yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it could do. So that was your 8 tracks, 2 tracks for each song, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unless you got like the Pink Floyd one, which was a whole different conversation. Uh, it's actually kind of funny. Speaking of which,
Mm-hmm.
um, I got a buddy of mine, one of my podcast buddies, who his podcast is retired, but his YouTube channel is doing very well. My friend
Okay.
Russ, who has it's the Infectious Grooves. It's they talk about records and music and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like it started out as a vinyl podcast, and then he just kind of expanded it into a bunch of other stuff. And just absolutely wonderful human being. Him and his wife are just the best fucking kind of people. They're just wonderful human beings. But a couple of years back, Russ had mentioned something about how he had the wall on every format.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said every format except 8 track.
Oh, wow.
And I found the wall on an 8 track, and
And-
I bought it and had it shipped to his house. I didn't tell him it was coming. It just showed up one day where all of a sudden he had an 8 track of the wall. I was
did
like,
he do a video about getting the 8 track?
I know he did a social media post about it.
Okay.
I don't remember if he did a video or not,
Do,
but
do you remember? I just had a vague memory of this. I'm think that 8 tracks actually had cardboard sleeves. Like I think they didn't
yeah,
hang
I
around a
think
lot because like they were
yeah,
hard
they didn't
plastic,
yeah, they
and
didn't
so you would like
last,
lose
but
them.
yeah,
But I
no,
think when you bought them,
they
yeah.
did have a sleeve to because again, my grandpa, old guy,
Hmm.
oh no, you put it back in there because you don't want the tape to get touched. Okay, figure it. If you say so, Gramps, I'll take really good care of your archaic, outdated system. Not that I have any room to talk about archaic, outdated systems because I have a mini disc player. So
The funny thing
I was
is,
100% convinced that was going to be the future.
I, well, so Walkmans, the cassette players did very well, and then you got the Discman, and I was kind of surprised that that worked. But it was always kind of cumbersome because it was kind of bigger than I mean, it was thinner, but it was bigger than a Walkman. I never had one that I recall, but I did remember using them, and I was really amazed that I mean, it's a simple trick, but in order to prevent skipping, what it would do is it would have a longer buffer. So that
Yep.
way, like if you were jogging or something, it could, give you enough music where it hopefully would have read some more and processed it, and then the music would never
Yeah.
jump.
No, I had a Discman in my car on my
Mm,
dash on a little spring thing, so you could, if you hit a bump or whatever, it was less likely to skip. And then I had the adapter that plugged into the tape deck in my car.
hmm hmm
So yeah, I was balling back in the mid '90s. I tell you.
I had a guy that told he was in Nam, and he told me at one point he had a car that had a record player in it, and he said you did not take that, you did not play something going down a bumpy road on that thing.
Oh no, I can't imagine you would. Although speaking of records, that's actually I have I'm in the market for a record player.
Hmm.
I have one because another side effect of my trip to go see my dad a couple weeks ago. He was when they downsized from having a house and a cabin to just having the cabin.
Hmm.
He had to transport all of his shit from Kenosha up to the cabin,
Hmm.
and I think they downsized a couple of motorcycles at the time.
Hmm.
Because I was expecting more to see more when I got up there, and I only saw four. But
Hmm.
because, like I said, big biker guy.
Right, right, right.
But and my stepmom rides too. That's why they have
Oh,
lots of
wow.
motorcycles. But yeah, they had so much crap that he had to get a storage locker too. So
Hmm.
he's like, "Hey, you want your records back?" Because when I moved out, I had left some of my vinyl at his house because
Hmm.
for a very brief stint in the at the tail end of the '90s, everybody thought it was kind of cool, and I did a little DJing, so I kept some records just to DJ with,
Mm.
and so I left those at his house when I moved, and then he had all of his albums, so I wound up bringing like 400 albums back from his cabin with me,
Mm.
and I went through them, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here I got a couple record players too. This one's never been out of the box, and this one's kind of roughed up, but
Wow.
it's a nice it was the top of the line and back in 1968." I'm like,
Right.
and it really is actually it's a super nice turntable, and I looked online and like one in decent condition
Hmm.
is still going for like $375,
Oh, wow.
and I was looking at parts to kind of repair it because like the belt's broken and
Hmm.
it needs a new stylus and all this other stuff. So I'm like, I could fix this thing up, and I'm gonna have to rewire it because the RCA inputs are all jacked up. So I'm gonna have to put
Mm.
a new RCA's on it. Which again, none of this is super complicated stuff, but I was pricing it out, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna everything except for the stylus is very affordable. Like the belt's like
Hmm.
$10. New set of RCA's is like $11. A replacement stylus is $268. I was
I
like,
mean, honestly, Crosby.
I can buy a new record player for
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think you can get them for like 99 bucks.
Yeah. So I'm like, is it really? I mean, nostalgia is nice and all, but I can get a good one for like $100.
I mean, it all depends on what your goal is. Like, if you really want something from that era, to still be working, then it's worth the money.
Yeah, well then
If
it's
you
worth the money. I just don't have the money. So,
Sure. I mean, but
but
if you just want something to play it, like, probably whatever you get is going to be more than good enough. And if
oh
you,
yeah. No,
yeah.
see, what I really would like to do is when I do have some surplus income is to restore that one. But in the
Hmm.
meantime, I still want to listen to all the records that I kept because I did not by any means keep all of them. I only kept about 150. Um, and we had a garage sale last weekend, so I put all the other ones in the garage sale.
Mm. My
But
mom
I
had a
did.
lot of records,
I was gonna say I
and
did go
we,
through. There's an app called Discogs, which will
hmm
let you log the albums, and it tells you the cheapest it sells for, the highest it sells for, and the median value.
hmm
Median value on this collection is like $2,500.
mm,
So I was like, Dad has a lot of bangers that are apparently really hard to find because
nice.
there's a couple of them that's like the median price is like $160, and I was like. Now, ironically, these are also the ones I want to keep because
Of
they're good
course.
albums. But like
Right.
my dad had a lot of like live. My dad was really into like blues and jazz and so it's a lot of like live performances from Chicago, like limited pressings that are
Hmm.
and those are the ones that are in beat up condition are like $75, and these are in better condition, so they're worth more. But those are also the ones I want because I really like blues and jazz too. So it's like, you know, this is a
It's
Howlin' Wolf live from Chicago. This album isn't in circulation. It doesn't exist. You can't find it on iTunes. It was a live recording that they pressed and sold in limited edition. I'm
mm.
keeping this. And so,
I think it was the movie Clue. So it has a soundtrack and you can get it. And it seems like I wound up paying $100 to get the CD. This was a couple of years ago when I was still working. Um, just because I couldn't get it from iTunes. And so I was gonna have to rip it. And like they just didn't make that many CDs because it came out way after the film did. And then I think
yep.
there was a company that I ran across that re-released it on vinyl. And it seemed like, unless I'm confusing it with some other project, um, they did colored vinyl. So it was like,
Yeah.
red, yellow, blue, green, I think. I can't remember if they had the if they had the album and all the colors or not, but I thought it was cool. And it was, a new company, and it was almost like it was a millennial thing. And they were saying that, vinyl's coming back and we want to do something cool with it. And
Oh yeah, no, vinyl definitely had a resurgence here for a while.
mm-hmm.
I feel like it's kind of tapered off a little bit recently, but
prob- probably because nobody has any money.
yeah, that's probably part of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I have one of my friends that I've known since I was a kid. She and her husband opened a vinyl store
Mm.
in Wisconsin a few years back, and they still kind of do it like casually, like they condensed space with another shop that was like
Mm-hmm.
artisan soaps and stuff. But it's in the little downtown area. It's a a nice little shop, and they would do all kinds of. They got like a license to serve beer and wine, and they had a coffee bar, and you could go in
Oh,
there and you could like.
nice.
They had a bunch of listening stations, so you had record players with headphones, so you could bring your vinyl and set it up and get a coffee and sit there in
Oh,
a
cool.
little record lounge kind of setup. It was very
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah, I think they said they were closing it this year, but like I said, it was a really
Oh.
cool concept while it was going.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I said, we have all kinds of other fun stuff because you get people like me that are like, oh, here, I got Dad's record collection.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, my boss has, I want to say it's 2,500 albums at the office.
Oh, wow.
Like it's literally those like 20-quart Rubbermaid like containers with the lids on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He has 12 of those full of records
Wow.
because at one point sometime a few years back, like all of the owners of the company got together and brought all their vinyl collections from home because nobody listens to vinyl anymore, and decided to store them at the office in the storeroom. And they had
Mm.
one of the IT guys go through with this app that I was talking about and catalog the entire thing.
Wow.
And that poor kid spent like 3 weeks on it. Like,
Oh, I bet.
and then so then the owners and all his buddies went through and they decided what they were going to keep out of it, and they took their albums out. The boss took like 4 totes back to his house. There's still 6 in the storeroom that they're trying to figure out that they want to get rid of. Somebody was like, Aaron, you want to go through these? I'm like, didn't we already put all those out for everybody that works here to go through? And people took whatever they wanted, and they said, yeah. I said, okay, so whatever I want's probably gone already. I'm not taking the time to look through all that shit.
Depending upon what's in that collection, have you considered hooking them up with your friends that own the vinyl store? Because that would give them some product to sell. And
Well, yeah, I did actually.
Mhm.
And I called my friend about it. That's how I found out that they're closing.
Oh, that's
She
sad.
said, I was like, that's an excuse for me to come up to Wisconsin and visit for a weekend. I'll throw all this shit in the back of my truck and I'll come up and, we can hang out.
Hmm.
And she's like, yeah, we don't really need to bring in any more inventory. We're getting ready to, move
To
on to other
close.
things. And I'm like,
Ah,
ah, bummer.
well, well, maybe in all your spare time, you could start a vinyl store.
Maybe an online store. It's, I, I would, no, I think my wife would kill me actually if I brought all those records home. Like, what are you doing?
Well,
I'm setting up an online shop, babe.
I know Bob had some vinyl that he sold. He had a collection. It came from wherever, and he didn't have room for it anymore, and he let it go.
Yeah, I mean it happens. I mean, like I said, I actually once I get this out of here, and
Hmm.
because that's actually on the itinerary. I after about a year of please, we don't use this. Nobody's here. We have like 3 air mattresses and a huge couch. We don't need a spare room. Can I please take the bed down and set this up as my office? Pretty please,
Hmm.
with sugar on top. And my wife was finally like, yeah, we might as well. Because unfortunately, uh, for whatever reason, the cat and the dog have decided that they were fighting over this bed.
Hmm.
The cat decided, I'm going to show you, and peed in the spot where the dog lays.
Ah.
Got really mad about it. I mean, stripped all the bedclothes off, and we have an upholstery cleaner, so literally to bleach water and sanitizer and steam clean
Hmm.
the entire
Hmm.
mattress. And it's an older mattress, so I was at the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't cleaning this thing seems redundant at this point. Why don't I just throw it out and let a homeless guy sleep on it or something?
Right.
And my wife was just like, we're not buying another mattress. I said, nobody said buy another mattress. I'm just bitching. Let me clean the thing up. So we cleaned it up, get the whole thing cleaned up. We put this enzyme stuff to stop pets from marking in the water. So the mattress
Oh,
is
interesting.
theoretically trained where the cat would not do it again. And
See, what I would have
literally,
done is I would have put plastic around the mattress.
well, yeah, but then it's all crinkly when you try and lay on it.
Yeah, but I mean, at least, like I don't know what those things cost. I'm guessing they used to be $10. Maybe with inflation, they're 30 or 40 now. I don't know. But like,
Yeah, but
it's disposable. You throw it away, you get another one.
yeah, well, that's actually kind of how I feel about the mattress at this point. It's 15 years old. It's had a good life, because that was actually my kid's mattress after he got too big for a twin bed, and not the same bed frame, but the same
Mhm.
mattress. And then so when he moved out, we had this frame in storage because that used to be our bed frame. And then we upgraded to a California King, so that's a
Mhm.
queen. And so I was like, that's good for a guest room. And then, like I said, now I'm like, this is my recording space, and I would like it to look more like an office and less like a bedroom. So I was like, this has been an ongoing back and forth between me and the wife, and she's like, well, where are people going to sleep? I'm like, who's the last person that came over here for company? And she says, that's not the point. I'm like,
Right, right.
what if our friends have too much to drink? I said, then they're gonna stay wherever they pass out. I'm not putting them to bed.
So
And like I said, we have 2 queen size air mattresses and a huge couch. Every,
I,
uh,
I've got a memory foam mattress, and it's on a platform, so it's wood, and it is a heavy beast to move. And my best friend growing up, he had bought this mattress and bed frame, so he sent me the links on Amazon on what to get. And I've had that thing. I'm trying to remember. I think I got it right before I moved. So this is going to turn into a Shaggy Dog story. I was in an apartment building, and I wound up with bed bugs, but I think they came from a guy that I met that was also in the apartment. So um, I met this guy, ironically enough, in town. I didn't know that he lived in this building. There was, I'll just say, an event to protect the guilty, but there was a dinner thing we would do once a week, and it was supposed to be a technology thing, but what it turned into is it was just a bunch of programmers that worked in town that would get together and they would complain. So and have dinner, have a drink, and then go home. And I noticed this car kept showing up to the event, and I'm like, that car looks awfully familiar. And it turns out he did live with in the building. So and it was a piece of shit car. The clutch was going out in it. And he said, hey, we became friends, right? I introduced myself. I'm like, hey, this car looks familiar. Do you live there? Yes, I do. Hey. So after we became friends, he's like, there was a play that was being put on in a major town hour and a half away from us. And he said, I know this girl that's in this play. If you'll drive us down there and back, I'll buy dinner. It'll be Arby's, but I'll buy dinner. So I said, okay. Now I may wind up and get the next bit of this wrong. If memory serves correctly, Daniel Radcliffe and oh God, who played Holmes in the Johnny Lee Miller?
Okay,
Yeah. So they did this play where they rotated who was on stage uh, each night they performed, but they would be in this bubble, which was supposed to be kind of like a womb, and they would be naked. Is the way I remember the
Equius,
story.
wasn't
Equius,
it?
yes. That
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but I don't remember. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So it turns out that's the play that we were going to go see, and this is in a very conservative, although it had been liberalized because it was an urban area, but it's a conservative state, and it's a
Yeah.
fairly conservative city. And it was a very intimate theater. I mean, like if you were sitting in the audience was in metal chairs, and you could reach out and touch the stage. Like that's how intimate it was. It was on the second story of an antique uh, shop. So I remembered, that these actors were naked on the stage, but just at the beginning. So we get there, that doesn't happen. And I totally forget about it. But towards the end of the first act, the main two characters, it's a guy and a girl, they're young, they wind up having sex. And so she starts picking at the bottom of her shirt. And I'm like, no, no. So she mimes taking off her shirt and taking off her pants. He does the same, intermission. Great. There were a couple of hot girls in the audience. Not that any of them were going to go out with me, but a boy can dream. So I'm like, okay, great. We got through that. Well, it turns out that later on in the play, you see the same scene again, but it's being told from a different angle. And at that point, they both get naked on the stage in this antique store. So, he's paid for the tickets. He paid for the dinner at Arby's. He paid for the gas down there and back. I got my money's worth out of this because, I mean, she wasn't great looking, but it was a naked girl in the flesh.
Yeah, it's a live nude girls. They used to have signs that said that.
Exactly. So it turns out that this person had come from another state. And the reason they had come from another state is they had tried to arrange a date with a 15-year-old chickie baby. And when he showed up for the date, he had one with Johnny Law.
Yeah.
And he, was released or what have you, and then decided to cross state lines, which is a felony.
Yes.
And we didn't know any of this until he got over his depression and he applied for a professional job that required a security clearance because it was government work. And when they investigated his background, well, let's just say his file popped. We're still hopeful that he might one day get the job. So
I
I
mean,
wound up I wound up having to go in and help one of his friends and his mom clean out his apartment. And it turns out it was a total wreck. And he had them. And that's how they got to me. And hence the Shaggy Dog story. So I had them. I had this futon. They were living in the wood of they weren't really in the futon. They were more in the wood of the
in
so
the frame, yeah.
yeah, I got rid of it and they went away. I slept on an air mattress for, a couple months, several months. And then I bought this bed that I have now. I think I had it right before because that building caught fire. There was an idiot upstairs that was cooking pancakes. He came down to the parking lot to talk to somebody. And it turns out that if you leave that cooking for long enough, it'll catch fire.
That's true.
But I've had that bed. So I will, if I make it to November, it'll be 11 years here. And it was like a year and a half in the other place. So 12, 13-ish years. And it still
Yeah,
sleeps.
I say
Excellent.
if it's still comfortable.
Well, I've got a little story for you. Kind of a topic change.
Okay.
Um, when my first professional job, meaning, something that I was kind of in the industry for or was going to school for, the owner I was very tightly wound at the time. People would say I'm still tightly wound. Believe it or not, I'm very loose compared to what I was. And let's just say that I never dated. And the owner of the company, or well, actually, it was her husband and her dad owned it and sold it to her, but whatever. He had a bunch of old Playboys. And he said, I will give these to you, and you should read, the interviews and like the letters to the editor in that section. He said, I know you're going to laugh at the technology because it's all old. These are from the 80s. He said, but I think that, those sections would really help you. And I know, what people are going to say. The fact of the matter is, I don't like the content that's in Playboy, and I can get much better on the internet for free. So I didn't need the fucking magazines for that purpose. And I did read a lot of the interviews. And it turns out that one of the issues that he had, Rush Limbaugh was actually interviewed for Playboy of all people. And of course, just as a magazine, there were a lot of writers that came up in there, like Joyce Carol Oates wrote a lot for Playboy, and I think Chuck Palahniuk was published there, amongst others. So, I had done what I was going to do with these magazines, and they were just sitting in boxes. And I had a buddy that was getting married, and I'm like, oh no, this is too perfect. So I told him I was going to do it. I said, I'm going to bring this because they weren't the wedding wasn't in town, but they were having a ceremony for the people here. So I said, I'm going to bring this as a wedding present. Now, the funny thing is that he was a very he was his family was Christian. His dad was a pastor, amongst other things. He wasn't I mean, he was certainly of the faith, but he has a very broad interpretation, like a very millennial, like he'll cuss. Whereas, his parents don't like that kind of language,
Yeah.
right? So um I brought him, I put him on the table. I don't think that anybody from that family has ever really talked to me since then, but
Like it was funny. Lighten up.
right. It's funny. Now I don't have to throw him away. Somebody else does. The irony
Yep.
is I don't think his wife liked me.
Well, I mean, I can honestly say I've got a couple friends whose wives don't like me, so I'm.
Well, I shouldn't say that like she hates me. I didn't get to know her. She was from Russia, and like that was I think the only time I had met her. And like I'm
Oh,
bringing Playboys.
yeah. Actually, I have a couple of Russian ladies that hate me, so there's a parallel there.
What do you know?
Yeah. Well, I used to when I was a young man before I really kind of came into my own. Even really, my early 20s. For a while I had a roommate that I didn't need the roommate. Like
Hmm.
I was helping him out more than anything else.
Hmm.
I was working a third shift job that paid me really decent money. Like 19 or 20, 21 years old.
Hmm.
All my friends had day jobs or were in college, so I got a day job because I didn't have anything else to do.
Hmm.
Made pretty decent money at my day job too. So for being, 20 years old and having no responsibilities, I had plenty of money. I could do whatever the hell I wanted. I bought a lot of guns when I turned
Hmm.
21 because that was just my thing.
Hmm.
And I when I had first moved into my apartment, I had a roommate. He moved out, and for like 2 months, I just didn't have anybody move in because I was like, I can afford the bills by myself. I like
Hmm.
having my own space. I like having my own privacy.
Hmm.
And then my former business partners, because a couple of my buddies and I opened a business right out of high school,
Hmm.
doing networking, web development, IT, like
Ah.
installing networks in buildings and offices, and setting up
Hmm.
custom databases, and using like Microsoft Access to set up, you know, interfaces for these
Oh, wow.
databases and all kinds of shit. And
Hmm.
so I had stepped away from the business because for multiple reasons, and but I had stayed friends with the guys
Hmm.
and they had hired this kid who was a Russian exchange student. He was in the country on a student visa. He was
Hmm.
working part time for them, and his host family threw him the hell out
What
because
happened?
they were very very Christian, and
Hmm.
they caught him sneaking his girlfriend into the house one night,
Oops.
and that was a no. So they booted him. And
Hmm.
so my buddies were like, "Look, we know you got an extra room. I know you don't want a roommate, but can he come stay with you?" And I was like,
Hmm.
"Fine." And so I let this Russian kid move in with me. Good dude. I mean, he really was a good kid. Did a few things that drove me absolutely batshit. Like he was not real good about buying groceries or
Hmm.
remembering that bills were due.
Hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I just paid that bill. Yeah, it happens every fucking month. Welcome to
Yeah.
adulting.
That was last month. This is this month.
Like, didn't we already pay the electric bill? Yeah,
Hmm.
last month. I paid it. You owe me money. And and so his girlfriend, who was also from Russia, and
Oh.
she was a very attractive
Oh, I
young
bet.
lady, and she worked at a bank.
Hmm.
She was, I mean, he was a little younger than me, so I was 21, he was 20, she was 20.
Hmm.
And like she was, I don't want to say naive, but I think she was kind of in denial about certain things. Like she had a Mercedes.
Hmm.
It wasn't an S class, but it was, I mean, it wasn't a super fancy Mercedes, but it was still a Mercedes that
Right.
one of her clients from the bank had given her because he was her friend. I was
Oh.
like, I've got a lot of friends. None of them have given me a $60,000 luxury sedan.
And he just gave this to her without anything in
Yeah, well,
exchange?
that's what I said. I'm like, you got you a little sugar daddy, and da 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 da. And she's like, what is sugar daddy? And I explained the concept of a nice older gentleman with a lot of money who gives attractive young women very expensive presents in exchange for their company. And she's,
Hmm.
I am not prostitute. I am a good he is my client. I make him lots of money with investments. He da 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 da. And
And he thinks the lady doth protest too much.
that's what I'm like. I think you're feeling a little suspect about what he's going to expect for that car. You
Or
are a son
maybe
of
guilt for what
bitch.
you've already done.
Well, yeah, either way. But
Right.
she was very much in denial about the whole thing, and like, oh, nothing like that ever happened. You are a son of bitch. Da 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 da.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm like, and so after that, she just didn't really care for me too much.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm not saying you're a whore. I'm just saying he might have some expectations you're going to have to deal with.
There
I
may have
am
been
not
some
a
transactional value here.
exactly. And I was just trying to say, be prepared. He might expect something. But
Hmm.
now, so usually, since I was working third shift, I would get home in the morning, and my Russian roommate was terrible about getting up. He would sleep right through his alarm.
So
I
far,
would.
you haven't said anything positive about this guy. Like he
Oh no,
doesn't
like I
pay
said,
bills, he doesn't buy groceries, he sleeps in.
he's a really good dude. Absolutely brilliant. Like could just sit there and stare at code and just read binary.
Oh,
Like
sure. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. But the way he was wired, he could process all this high level shit. But common sense was not his strong suit.
Sadly, I know somebody like that.
I know a lot of people like that, unfortunately. But
Hmm.
so but yeah, so usually if I would get home from work, I'd see her car sitting out in front of the house. I would know not to bother him, and I would
Mm.
go about my day, and I would cuss through the door, like turn your fucking alarm off. I'm going to bed, and that was. But if she wasn't there, I was more aggressive about telling him to get up and go to work so he could still pay his share of the bills
Mm.
because that's what he told me to do. He says, "Oh, sometimes you just got to yell at me to get me up. I don't even hear the alarm," and I'm like, "Noted." And I learned a few phrases in Russian that essentially translate to "get your lazy fucking ass out of bed, bitch, before I beat you." And so I would come in, and if I heard that alarm going off, I would fling the door open and start yelling at him in Russian until he rolled out of bed.
Mm.
Well, one night, apparently he went and picked her up, and so I didn't see the
Oh
car out front. I
no.
was unaware that she was in the house.
Hmm.
7:30, I walk in, and it's like Friday morning, which is to
Right.
me was my Friday night. So I
Hmm.
had stopped and had a couple beers on the way home. So I was like, "Up, Roman's sleeping. I'm gonna go fuck with him." And
Hmm.
so the alarm's going off. I fling the door open, start yelling, and get up, bitch! What's wrong with you? And
Hmm.
and she sits bolt upright in the bed, naked as the day she was born,
Of course.
and what are you doing? Get out! And I'm like, oh, didn't know you were here. Sorry. Nice tits. I mean, she already hated me. I was just going for broke at that point. And I turned around, closed the door, and I went and sat down in the living room and turned on the TV and just waited because I knew some shit. I was like, there's no point in going to bed now.
Before you finish this story, have you ever replayed this in your mind and thought about telling her you should wake your boyfriend up?
Oh no,
Because that would have been a great line.
that came later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I sat down in the living room and I used to smoke at this point, so I lit up a cigarette, even though I usually tried not to smoke in the apartment, just out of courtesy. I was like, I don't care.
Mhm.
This is gonna go bad. Fuck it. So I'm sitting in my living room, like ashing into an empty plastic cup because, like I said,
Mhm.
I didn't smoke in the apartment, so there was no
Right.
ashtrays. So I'm just sitting there. I had the window open. I'm like blowing the smoke out the window. Just this is gonna be a bitch. She comes storming out like in pajamas 5 minutes later. What the hell is wrong with you? You are son of a bitch. You trying to see me naked? I'm like, I had no idea you were here. If your boyfriend didn't sleep through his fucking alarm every goddamn morning, this wouldn't be the routine. I do this every day when I get home from work. I had no
Right.
idea you were here. You want to be mad at somebody, be mad at him for not leaving the giant maroon warning flag hanging outside the building that is our agreed upon way of me knowing you're here.
Hmm.
Tell him to hang a tie on his doorknob or something next time so I don't come bursting in. You want to know why I bursted in? It's because he told me to.
Right.
And she just kind of looks at me and she's like, you're still son of a bitch. And I'm like, you're not wrong. I can't believe you're smoking in the apartment. It's my fucking apartment. And then she stormed off into the bathroom and slammed the door and opened it up again, looked out at me, slammed it again. I was like, okay, good night. I'm going to bed. And she opened the door. You're going to bed? I was like, yeah, that's what I always do when I get home from work. I stayed up so you could yell at me before I went to bed.
Hmm.
Have a nice day. Yeah, you son of a bitch. I know, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Just
You know,
drove.
with as much as she called you that, I kind of wonder if she didn't have a crush on you and she just didn't know how to show it.
No, I think she really thought I was a son of a bitch.
Well, two things can be true at once. As much as I hate
that
that phrase in the year of our Lord 2025.
well, that's true. I suppose it's possible. Maybe. Uh, definitely. If that was the case, she definitely didn't have a type because he and I were just polar opposites. I mean, I
Well, maybe
I
maybe her type is persons with penises.
possible, but I doubt it actually because
Oh,
the other thing, I mean, I'm not saying her type wasn't person with penises, but not just
oh,
any random, not any dick will do, you know?
oh, I see, I see.
Because like literally, because this guy's social circle primarily consisted of my friends,
Mm-hmm.
because like, and it got awkward for him because his bosses would come hang out at the apartment to hang out with me. So
Right.
it would be kind of weird where he'd have to be on his best behavior. But I'm pretty sure every one of our friends tried to sleep with her at some point,
Oh, I bet.
and it just never happened. Like
Mm-hmm.
she was just like, I no, I am not like that. Go away, yada yada yada. And then and I'd come home and this is my house. I will do what I want, and I would. Yeah, I mean, even though I wasn't chefing at the time, I still always was a good cook. So I would come home and I'd make all this food for myself before I went to bed, and
Mm-hmm.
she'd get up and I'd be like, "Here, would you like some breakfast?" I made this, that, and the other. I can
Mm-hmm.
cook up some eggs to go with it for you if you'd like, because I know it's technically it's not breakfast food, but
Mm-hmm.
so oh no, you don't have to. It's okay, son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like I made coffee too. Go wake your boyfriend up.
You know, it's a the way that Americans think about breakfast today, possibly with an asterisk, is really backwards. Like, 100, 150 years ago, what you had for breakfast wasn't grains. It was whatever was left over from dinner the night before. That's why you have steak
Yep,
and eggs at Waffle House.
yep. And ironically, that's actually how I eat breakfast most of the days. Breakfast is like my serious meal.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the one where and I am notorious for that on the weekends when I'm not rushing off to go to work. Like
Mm-hmm.
most mornings when I'm talking to like Bruce and the guys during the morning weathered review,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I'm muted because I'm shoving like a bagel in my hole or whatever. It's like
Ah.
I'm trying to get ready to rush out of here because I'm like at the gym from about 5:40 until 7:45,
Mm.
and then I'm hop in the shower, try to get out, hop on and talk, especially if Bruce is by himself because
Right.
I don't like to leave him there talking into the void. That's my shtick, is to be the one screaming into the void. So I'll hop in so Bruce has somebody to riff off of until other people show up, and then I'll like mute myself, and or sometimes I'll tell Bruce that I'm getting in the shower just to fuck with him because he's like, God, now I thought about it, and I'm like, ha 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 ha. So I mean, hell, sometimes I tell him I'm in the shower when I'm not, just to fuck with him. But
Well,
that's
if you really
that's just
wanted
being
to,
petty.
you should get like a sound effect of a shower and just like,
Oh no, I actually do that sometimes. I'll just unmute my phone and hold it up next to the shower head, just shh, and then without fail, he'll be like, "Sounds like somebody's got a staticky connection." And I'm like,
oh, so is that what that was this morning?
"Yeah, that was
Oh,
I wasn't in the shower yet, but
right,
I was
right.
like, I had just turned it on to like
Mm.
let the water warm up because it's far from the water heater to the shower, so it takes a few minutes." So I was like, and I'm as much, even though I was all sweaty and gross, I don't want to be cold. So I'm like,
Sure.
just turn that on. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm not muted. So
The funny thing is, I don't like cold showers. Like, even if I'm hot and sweaty, um, and I've tried to do it, like, I don't know, it sucks. But there may be one exception, and it's probably just a context thing in the way my brain is wired. And that would be like, which I haven't done this in 20, maybe even 30 years. If I were at a pool, those showers are usually cold, but
yeah,
like,
those are usually cold, but you just got out of the pool. You got to hose off
or
or before you go
you're
in the pool.
right, you're rinsing down before you go in the pool to, get the sweat off so that you don't
Yeah. So
carry
you're
that
not,
into the pool.
yeah. So you're not taking the cooties in with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I actually, that's one of my little side projects I haven't gotten around to yet this year is I was going to put a shower up by our pool.
Mm.
Um, because I mean, it's not a fancy pool. It's an above ground pool, but we do have a
Mm-hmm.
pool and I never use it to speak of. Like occasionally I'll go in there, but it's more for my wife and her girlfriends, and they have like pool day and they sit in the floaties and drink wine. I got them big plastic wine glasses so they don't have to worry about breaking them in the pool. And
How
they'll,
considerate.
yeah, well, that's more. I don't want to have to deal with a hole in the liner.
Oh, I
But
see.
it sounds considerate because if you put
It's
glass
it's an
glass in a
investment.
pool is impossible to find. I mean, you're gonna
No,
cut
no, it's
yourself.
not. You tell her to get in barefoot and go walk around the entire pool. She'll
Yeah,
find it.
yeah, and then I'll have to pay for the bill. But um, yeah, but so it's I've been planning to do that, and it's actually gotten less urgent since I originally planned to do it
Hmm.
because we switched over to saltwater.
Mm,
And so it's not nearly as like I got to get this off of me right away because it's bad for your skin
I
as
see.
chlorine is. So
Hmm.
yeah, the chlorine was different. That skin would get all dry and brittle. And actually, if I get out of the pool now, I'm like, oh, this actually feels nice. It's
It's almost like you're swimming like God intended.
pretty much, or at least floating. I can't really say I swim. I get in my floaty and cocktail.
There is a story. If I've got it. Oh no, where is it? I thought I had it saved somewhere. Um, it's about the Titanic in relation to swimming, in you being a chef. Um,
All the lobsters viewed the sinking as a miracle.
no, is this it? I don't think this is it. It's about the baker. So, I think yeah, here it is. I'll read this. So who was the most badass person in history that no one knows about? Um, as everything was going to shit, Charles Joughlin was remarkably calm. When the Titanic hit an iceberg on April 14th, 1912, even the ship's staff was in a state of panic. No one stepped up to the plate to take charge. In fact, moving around just as frantically as the passengers. His first order of business was sending loaves of bread to the lifeboats so people would have food to last until they were rescued. He continued by helping others onto their boats until he reached his own. Only instead of hopping on, he forced a group of women and children on, saving their lives. The icy water filled the ship quickly, and Charles was fully aware of his chance of survival was slim at best. So he did what any person would do: get drunk out of their mind. He went to his cabin and got as much whiskey as he could. On his way, he threw chairs into the ocean for people to use as flotation devices. And then he jumped off the ship into freezing water. He spent hours in the unforgiving Atlantic Ocean. Most died in minutes. The alcohol coursing through his body fought off the cold and kept him alive. I was just paddling and treading water, he said. As dawn broke, he found a lifeboat and swam towards it, only to find that there was no space for him. Luckily, another nearby boat had room and he managed to climb on. They were rescued soon after, and there was no illness or injury to ever prove he'd been in the water. Charles would go on to join the Navy and die at 78, living a full life thanks to some whiskey.
What a lovely story. The power of whiskey. And good on him for keeping his head.
Yeah, and providing, something for people to have that, even if it got
Gave
wet, it would
people
still,
food and
yeah.
threw flotation devices off and got liquored
What a
up.
fucking dude.
Oh yeah. That's a man right there, I tell you what. Gave his seat up to some women's and children's and then got drunk. I can see that.
Yeah, that reminds me of the meme of why did on the Titanic did they want to get the women and children off the boat first so that men could think of a solution in peace?
Yep. It's uh it's I mean, it's not wrong. I'm just saying.
I can't remember what the device was. It may have been the barcode. But there's this little meme story going around that husband and wife was walking on the beach, and the husband asked his wife to be quiet for a minute so he could think, and he drew something in the sand, and I think it was like barcodes. He'd figured out how to do it.
I mean, I can't say that's not what happened.
Yeah, I'd have to find
I
the
mean,
story to figure out what product it was. Actually, I'll tell you what's kind of interesting is does the name Philo T. Farnsworth ring a bell?
Yeah, it does.
Dun dun dun.
I know I should know what this is.
He is one of the two inventors of television. So the other guy was John Logie Baird, who was a Scotsman living in England. And what Baird had come up with was a spinning disc. And it gave the illusion of motion. And then you could view it.
Yeah,
Um,
the not the oscilloscope. The hell did he call it? Now I actually have a book that's probably where I kind of I it's ringing bells. It's How the Scots Invented the Modern World.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Jeremy
it's a
Clarkson did an
interesting
episode.
read.
Jeremy Clarkson had it was like a 6 episode series of inventions that changed the world. And one of them was television. So he told the story of Baird, who was like this crazy, like when you think of like the absent-minded professor or whatever, but like he was so crazy and like the way his brain worked is, he got all this random shit and then said, oh, I can like make this, 3 foot discs, a wooden disc with, glass lenses in it spin around. And if I do it fast enough, it's television. And if the thing comes apart, like it's a death thing.
Yeah, no, it spins apart, gonna kill everybody in within 3 counties, but
You
yeah.
know, what's the saying in both aviation and in automobiles that every safety feature is the direct result of a fatality?
Yep.
But Philo T. Farnsworth was a farm
Rotoscope.
boy.
That's what it is. The rotoscope.
Ah, Philo T. Farnsworth was a farmer in Idaho, and he didn't have a lot of formal education, but he had found some physics books in an attic, and he would read them at night. And he got the idea while he was plowing his field of how he could make an electron gun scan across a tube because he was thinking about the rows in his field, and that's where the cathode ray tube came from, which was um, what would ultimately become early television sets. But before you had television sets, they were used in the war for radar.
Yep. That's a cool little tidbit.
Well,
Cathode two. Sorry, my brain just completely derailed there for a second.
no, 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 it's okay.
Ah, I I completely lost my train of thought, which has been known to happen, you know.
Well,
Um,
I know we've been jawing for a while. I can certainly do it for hours, but
I mean,
you
well,
have,
so can I, but I do actually got to hit the rack here pretty soon. Yeah, it's 3 hours. I pretty
wow.
pretty sure that's what Bruce said. That's just what I need to hear. A Tom and Aaron episode for 3 hours.
Well, we didn't get a Tom and Bob show, but we got a Tom and Aaron show. And if you want to do it again,
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you ever want to do it with a structured, like here's things we should talk about, just give me a
like
heads
I
up
said,
and we can pick stuff.
I, I almost sent you a message, and I kind of assumed that we were going to talk politics because that's what we do on
That's
Weathered View. But I
yeah.
have enjoyed this laid back conversation.
Well, see, and that's like I said, that's how I got John too. He's like, I thought we were going to talk about what's going on in politics and this and that, and I thought we were going to have a bitch session, and we didn't. And I said,
Hmm.
yeah, it's fun. It's funny how that works, huh? Because that's kind of what everybody expects. Because anybody that listens to my show is like, well, this guy does his rant and rave, and it's like we can do that. I'm totally copacetic with the idea,
Mm-hmm.
but I always think it's a little more fun to get to know people before I say, you know what, you're right. Let's pull the trigger on that one because it's like I ultimately at the end of the day, I like to get to, like I said, I like to get to know people. I like to know what makes them tick. I like to get a better feel for how their process works, how they feel, how they think, how they do things.
Mm-hmm.
Helps me increase my understanding, or depending on the circumstances, because I've done this to people I don't like too. And in that case, it's just me building an arsenal so I can go, you know what? I changed my mind. You have mashed potatoes between your ears, and now that I understand why you're an idiot, we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about this. And that's not the case in this case. Obviously, I don't. I
Oh,
think
well, thank you.
this was a good talk. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Um, but like I said, ironically enough, the couple of times where it was people that were really pissing me off, it was like I didn't even publish the one because I was just like, you know what, you are too much of a, I'm not going to expose my audience to you because you are a fucking idiot. And it was because it was just, well, when I first started doing the show, well, and that was, the COVID podcast boom where everybody and their mother was setting up podcasts, and like all the small indie podcasts, people were trying to network and like, hey, I'll come on your show, you come on my show, we can share audiences. And
Right.
I appreciated the sense of camaraderie and everything, but I did hit a couple of them where it was like, you are the most like left leaning, completely unhinged wackadoo I could ever. We can't have a conversation. You're just waiting for me to shut up so you can spew your talking points that you prepared prior to ever like interacting with me. You're
Hmm.
basically reading a script that you've memorized. This is not a conversation. This is you regurgitating your talking points, regardless of what I have to say on the matter. This
Right.
sucks. I'm not publishing it. And and that it was from that period of time where that actually made me, it's one of the reasons, like, um I think it was Bruce that asked me why I don't do more guest episodes or interview episodes,
And that's why.
and that's why I got really soured on it for a little while, where I was just like, you know what, no, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to scream into the void and people will listen or people will not. But on the other side of that coin, when it's like people I've interacted with a little bit in whatever format, all of a
Hmm.
sudden I'm more like, you know what? I feel like this is someone that's not just gonna fucking try and steamroll me and co-op my show and
Mm.
try and get my audience. Like I still get, 3 or 4 emails a week of like, hey, have you heard about this person? I think they'd be a great fit for your show. And I'm like, there's got to be some algorithm or some AI bot out there that's just pulling out active podcast names and like spitting them
Adam
out to
Curry has
marketing
complained
people.
about this ad nauseum, and he says it. What's even funnier is when he gets these emails and they say, "We found your show, No Agenda, and we think that this person would be a really good guest." And in 17 years, they've never had a guest on the show.
Yep. And that's the thing. And but it's getting a little better, not great. Like
Hmm.
I got one last week that said, "Hey Aaron, I was just listening. I really enjoyed your last episode with Bruce. The episode with Bruce was like 2 months ago." I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, fail, but
Well,
and then
maybe they got behind on their podcast listening, and they were
eh,
saying, "Well, I just listened to it."
well, I kind of I was like, let me give him the benefit of the doubt, and I continued to read the email, and I'm like, we think this person would be a great fit for your show, and
Ah.
I'm like, all right, let me. And here's a link to a recent appearance they had on some like Crossfire or something like that, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yep, nope, 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 this isn't gonna go well. I'm gonna say something ignorant. I'm gonna hurt some feelings. This guy's gonna get pissed.
Well,
And then
there's
if he does have the audience that he's claiming to have, they're all going to come after me.
you probably would know the name. I didn't know the host, but there's a guy that's fairly famous in Britain for doing political interviews where he's combative, but it's like you understand going in. It's kind of like debate club, kind of, if that makes
like like
sense. Like
like like Pierce Morgan, or
yeah, I was gonna say Piers Morgan, but that doesn't sound right.
he's kind of a
Maybe.
twat. I mean, he does have a show and he
Yeah.
brings people on there and he's a combative twat, so he kind of ticks the boxes.
This seemed a bit more academic.
Okay, I
And
mean,
anyway,
it's possible.
somebody went on his show and they didn't understand the format or what it was that he did. So he thought the American thought that he was being personally attacked, and he wasn't. It was just it was the nature of the show, and he just wasn't familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, cultural clashes do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and the funny thing is, I've actually been kind of looking at some of these emails I'm getting. I'm like, okay, this one might actually be a fit. That
Mm-hmm.
one's definitely not a fit. This lady talks about crystals and the feminine spirit. So no, she's definitely not coming on my show. Patchouli Dren, her unique brand of comedy, and I'm like, everything about her, every joke on, because I went to this chick's Instagram reel and checked
Mm-hmm.
it out. I'm like, every joke she made was this like neo feminist, you know, strength through being skanky and crystals and the
Mm-hmm.
divine feminine, and I'm like, you patchouli dip motherfucker, you're not coming on. No, No, you remind me of the chicks I used to throw peanuts at the bar. Get the fuck away
Mm.
from me. It just ugh. And like you obviously have never listened to my show because if you listen to my show, you would know that I think your entire belief structure is retarded. And I say retarded, and you look like the kind of person that's gonna get offended when I say retarded.
Well, it might be fun to do one of those and just say, whoever the fuck it is that's running this company, particularly if they're your manager, you might want to fire them.
Yeah, you might need a new manager, but I wanted to tell you that in person.
Exactly.
Actually, fuck it. You know what? I might
I've
have to
given him
come.
an idea.
Yeah, no, you really have. I mean, that might be fun because I never looked at it like that. I just looked at it as like, what are these fucking people do? But now that not when you put it that way, I think I might have to reach out to this divine feminine chick.
But I think, I mean, because you don't want to like, blindside that, you kind of want to let them know that like we're really incompatible here, but
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely going in the email. Look, I don't think we see eye to eye on a goddamn thing, but this could be funny.
I mean, she could wind up on your show and be comic relief, and then you could wind up in her act.
Exactly.
It's cross promotion.
Next thing you know, I got a bunch of angry, unwashed feminists with hairy armpits coming after me, and I mean, hey, a click's a click. I
It
mean,
makes life interesting, doesn't it?
yeah. Oh, that's true. But on the other hand, I'm not monetized, so it's not like it would matter. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, because I say that all the time. It's like I'm not monetized. You can't fucking cancel me. This costs me money every month. Get my show taken away. You'll save me money. But you know,
Or ironically enough, you might have a bunch of people to me, and then with all the haters, it'll have the Streisand effect, and then find your tribe, and they might be willing to donate.
yeah. I mean, it's always possible. I mean, like I said, I don't feel like anything I say is worthy of sticking a commercial in. That's why I ran ads for a little while because I was just like, well, this is what you do when you have a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And then I was looking at it and I was looking at the monetization stats through Spotify because that's who I
Mm-hmm.
do my
Mm-hmm.
hosting with. And I was just like, you know what? Every podcast I listen to that has these fucking ads in it, they're never put in a good placement. They
Right.
always interrupt the flow of things. I don't provide enough quality to make it worth somebody having to put up to 2 minutes of bullshit. I'm just not going to put ads in anymore. And I clicked the demonetize option and I haven't had a second instant of regret. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it.
I mean, Adam Curry pushes the value for value model, and he does that on all the shows that he's on. So he's doing one with his wife. He did one with MoFax. He's got no agenda, and he does podcasting 2.0 on Fridays. And now, I mean, he was the inventor or co-inventor, depending upon how you want to credit it. He told Dave Weiner, "Hey, add this tag to RSS," and that's what gave what would be known as a pod catcher, right? Because it was just
Yep.
a that was looking for MP3 files effectively. Um, but he's had a very full life and has made some money, and so he had a name, and then Dvorak had a name, so they've been able to live on that for a while. And then when you have an audience that you can then move to the other shows, even if only a fraction of it moves, like there's enough there that he's got enough money coming in that he can live on. The only real question is how many other people could live on that model?
Yeah. I I don't know. Now, the funny thing is, God, things like that do almost make me wish I would have started when I originally thought about it, which was like 14 friggin' years ago.
I always wanted to be on the radio. When I heard Rush Limbaugh, I was like, this is what I want to do. I love to run my mouth, and I never pursued it. And then, like in my head, doing a podcast was a bigger production at the time because I like didn't really understand some of the internals, and I was like, well, I need a soundboard and I need a mic, and I never had enough money to get it together until recently. Last year, I had a job for a couple months. It was a DoD thing, and that's a whole nother story. But Bob was the one that told me to get the Rodecaster Duo and the Rode mic or the Pod mic, and maybe I still need to play with some settings, but this is real simple. I can record on it on the board, transfer it to the computer, upload it, and we're done. I wished I would have, and maybe the technology had to get simplified. I don't know. But I wish that I would have had this
It's
kind of set up 15 years ago.
oh yeah, no, 15 years ago it was a much bigger pain in the ass
Hmm.
because like I said, I've known about podcasts for a long time. I've
Oh,
had people
sure. Yeah.
telling me I should get into it for a long time because, and that partly goes back to, like I said, my former business partners were IT guys and,
Hmm.
web development, and like, we were all bleeding edge, MCSE certified in the 90s and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, and like, I didn't go in as hard as they did, obviously, because I'm not doing that. I want to saying this is not for me, but
Hmm.
um, I did have the knowledge base and the same associations with that particular kind, that group of people that were into those sorts of things. So, and then I'm obviously I'm very verbose. I talk well.
Hmm.
I don't get stage fright. I mean, that's one of those things. When I was a kid, I got thrown into a lot of, like, plays, and
Hmm.
I used to joke about it. I was like, I swear to God, my grandma was grooming me to be a fucking spy, because it was like, go out, and realistically, if I'm being honest about it, I was actually probably being groomed to be a politician. But, ugh.
Hmm.
I
Well,
did not follow the family plan for me. That's for
y-
sure.
I think that and there are exceptions to the rule. Jamingo would be one. But I think that if someone is a reader, that they're probably going to have an advantage if they go into podcasting because they'll have something to talk about and they've thought deeply about it.
Yeah, that actually, it's not a bad point. I mean, obviously, John may be the exception. I mean, love you, John, but you read like a brain damaged toddler. Um,
Well,
just
so like Rush Limbaugh never completed his degree, but I think he was a reader. I
yeah,
know Penn Jillette. He says that he
yeah,
completed high school on a plea bargain, but he is an autodidact. And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that man is next level. Yeah, he's amazing. But eh, I uh, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, but yeah, like I said, obviously I
Reading,
don't have never.
podcasting.
Yeah, I read a lot. I have no problem speaking. I'm a natural storyteller. Like,
Hmm.
I have one of my episodes. It's behind a paywall. If you ever want to hear it, you have to sign up for Patreon. You go to I had to say it podcast.com/ whatever. I don't know. There's a money link in there somewhere. You click on that, you go to the Patreon. But there's this thing. It's called the Amazing Clown Story.
Okay.
It's kind of a running bit. It's a known quantity to certain people. I think it might be an industry thing,
Hmm.
like a food service deal kind of thing. But the Amazing Clown Story, the long and the short of it is, it's a part of the story. The point of it is the story itself.
Hmm.
I mean, it's the telling the tale and being able to hold your audience's attention until the tale is complete. And the episode, I recorded it and put it up on Patreon for my patrons to listen to, and it's on Buy Me a Coffee too. I mean, either way, it's behind the paywall either
Hmm.
way, because I was like, this is not for everybody. This is for you guys. This is something I want to do for you guys so you can understand, a little bit more. And
Hmm.
I it was the second longest I've ever told the story for.
Oh, wow.
And
How long is it?
it's like a 45-minute story, I think, 46-minute story.
Okay.
Now, the longest I ever told it for, I managed to stretch it to an hour and 15 minutes.
Mm.
And I did that with an audience. It was after work one night. It was after I'd met my wife, but before we were really dating, but we worked together. And a bunch of us, because we had a banquet, and we got off of work at like 1:45 in the morning when the banquet was over. And there was a 24-hour restaurant, kind of like the local version of a Waffle House, but
Hmm.
not an actual Waffle House, but the same kind of deal. Breakfast at
Hmm.
2 o'clock in the morning,
Hmm.
and very popular with the bar crowd. So we went there after we got off work, and we all ordered, food and sat down. It was like 6 people from work and then a bunch of random drunks that were there and some people that usually hung out there that we saw on a regular basis that knew us. And so we were talking about a bunch of other stuff and I sat down. I was like, and somebody was like, "Hey, Aaron, tell the clown story." I'm like,
Hmm.
you guys really want me to tell the clown story? And I was like, yeah, tell the clown story. So I started telling the story, and the guy who told me to start telling the story started his watch like timer when I started telling the
Mhm,
story,
mhm.
and I still told the story for an hour and 15 minutes to coworkers, random ass people that we knew, and a bunch of random drunks.
Mm.
And nobody walked away. Nobody got up and went to the bathroom. I held all
Right.
of their attention for an hour and 15 minutes to tell this story.
Mhm.
And then I concluded the story, and I knew I did good because everybody went, and I was like, and I went, you're welcome. But it's all right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night.